Good morning, Matt. Well, I guess it's not morning for you though.
No, not quite. It's early afternoon, I guess you'd call it, but I'm okay with morning.
Yeah, I'll
I
take it.
had to fix the episode number for some reason. It didn't take it when I changed it to 3, so small things. So how's your weekend been?
It has been, yeah, it's a lot, between school and this and everything else I got going on. I am slightly overwhelmed, and that's probably a bit of an understatement.
I can't believe that. It's not fun to have all that stuff going on. That's for damn sure.
Hmm. I keep telling myself that it's worth it, right? That it's journey before destination. The endeavor is. The endeavor itself is worth the experience. At least that's how I make it through the day.
I mean, it's I guess that's a good start, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
So last week we touched on a couple things. The main ones being Section 1 and Section 2 of Article 1.
Oh, dude, I completely forgot that we only made it through two sections and we got like what, six more to go?
That's
Is
no,
it?
no, no, no. There's 10 in the
Oh, there's 10.
in
Okay.
the
Yeah,
first
eight
article.
more to go.
Yeah,
My bad.
there is a lot more to go. Um, yeah, unfortunately, no. But we had a lot of good discussions though, so that was
Agreed.
and even more after the fact. It seems just like we were talking earlier about like the stuff that you're working on with a lot of times you talk about things and you work through things in your head and then you sleep on it or you go for a walk and it muddles over in your mind and you're like, wait a second, there might be some other stuff that might work on that. So,
Yeah.
and one of those things was, we reviewed in section one that it's a bicameral Congress, Senate and House of Representatives, and we discussed quite a bit about should there be other representation. And
Yes, we did.
I don't think that I think that it was like, well, what else is there besides the state and the people? Um,
Right. And I was kind of on the idea or the kick of, well, what about what about the economy? Like the economy itself as a I mean, especially when you look at it from the perspective of like Citizens United, where where the courts have decided that corporations to a certain extent are people and they have rights.
yeah. Well, and the funny thing about that is, and there's, I guess there's some people that know, but not everybody. The federal government doesn't really have any regulation over businesses. That power is given to the states. The states have the ability to say what is, what isn't, what can or what can be a a business. So when you're looking at something like Citizens United, for the government to say what is or isn't in a business when the businesses are not registered with the government, they are created and they are entities of the state. Um, there would create all kinds of problems with that. So what you have is instead of trying to regulate this at a federal level, you would have to do it at the state level to say what a business can or cannot do from the state level. So that's kind of and when you first hear about Citizens United, it's like, well, what the hell do you mean that, businesses are people? Well, businesses are entities of the state. So are people. People are entities of the state.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things to where you have to leave it to the state to make those regulations. So at the state level, you can regulate what a business can and can't do. If a business has the ability to give donations to, political people, political parties or something like that, you can regulate that at the state level, just not the federal level. So, that being said, what if you create a third body within Congress that represents businesses?
Yeah, and I like that idea just in the sense of, hey, if we're going to create this equivalence through the courts where businesses and corporations and these entities are people and they have rights, shouldn't shouldn't they have their own representation? Shouldn't they have their own body? I mean, because I I mean, just thinking about it right now, because they're not people. Like I mean, in
Groups of people,
every sense, huh?
essentially. They're groups of people, essentially, to an
Sure,
extent.
but they are not they are, I guess they are not a person. I guess is the way that I would frame that or look at that. Um, and you know, going off the conversation we were just having off the stream where we were talking about AI, and sentience and feelings and emotions and different things like that. Corporations and entities, they don't have that stuff. Do they deserve all the civil rights and that every that every person is guaranteed by the Constitution and the amendments? I like, and I'm just asking the question. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so should we now separate that out and say, okay, hey, this is a little something different, and we need to manage and define that better. I mean, especially when you look at the from a state perspective, that and how every single state manages businesses differently and how they do it. Where even when we were looking at setting up our own business and looking at managed service providers for IT and stuff like that, where we were like, well, which state do we want to incorporate in?
Yeah.
And which one has the best laws for us
Yep.
and for what we're trying to do. And I mean, I guess that's kind of cool that you can shop around like that, but is it really, like, I don't know, is it really ethical? Is it really is that really how to basically game the system as best you can? I don't know if we should be even doing that, but just in the sense of that it creates this huge muddy water of, okay, well, this state will let me do this, but and this state will let me do that. So I'll just I'll create my entity in that state so I can play by those rules. I mean, and shouldn't there be an overall set of rules that sort of, I guess I'm kind of thinking of like the civil rights of people, where states can impose laws and do different things with the people in those states, but they can't override it at a federal level of the Constitution. Like, no, you can't. There's certain games that you can't play. Like,
Yeah.
and for where we look at it from that, is that the Declaration of Independence? I believe that there are certain inalienable rights,
Yeah.
and
At the
maybe,
in the first part of
yeah,
the Declaration,
yeah,
it's yeah, endowed by the creator, by their creator, with certain unalienable rights, and these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yep.
yeah. And I know the federal government does some stuff where we have certain bureaucracies like the SEC, the FCC, that regulate certain parts of business, but in my mind, a lot of that stuff is incredibly gray area. The water is incredibly muddy,
Oh yeah.
and and also the fact that we've abdicated most of the responsibility and most of the law creation and generation to those bureaucracies, rather than legislating it and letting the people decide.
Yep.
Is another problem for me. Where there should be something more. I feel like something more in place, and and I think that starts with representation, like what you're talking about.
So a couple things that you touched on there, with businesses and being able to pick where they want to quote unquote incorporate or put their business. So you have a lot of businesses that choose not to even incorporate in the U.S. or move their headquarters out of the U.S. because of tax purposes. To be able to get around paying taxes on certain things, so they'll go incorporate in a country that you know allows them to pay less taxes.
Hmm.
So to that point, that I don't know that there is a good way to be able to keep them here to pay taxes here if they have that ability. I mean, even if you're talking, if we create a third branch of the Congress, I don't even like calling them branch, but a third group in Congress, and if you limit it to let's say one representative per state. The Senate has two reps per state that are supposed to represent the state. Then you have the population representation within the House. If you take a commerce body or commerce, House of the Senate, House of the Representatives, House of the Commerce, or something like that, and
Yeah.
then you gave one representative, because you don't want to give too much power to the businesses, but you gotta. I mean, right now they're already doing it. They're already buying politicians that are supposed to represent
Yeah.
the people, and they're just representing. They just have business interests. So, is there a way to get that to give them their own representation rather than them muddying the reputation? Sorry,
Representation.
representation and reputation, the
Yeah. Well, yeah.
representation of the of the other bodies of government. How does a representative of the people actually represent the people if they're being paid by some corporate some corporate person getting millions of dollars to
Call them a shill. Corporate.
yeah, to for them to vote for this legislature, which gives the business the ability to do certain things or make more money, at the hindrance of the people.
Hmm.
So, or even at the suffering of the people. So if you take and you do that, even saying, okay, well, the only way that you can vote on representation of your commerce representative is if you're headquartered at a particular, if your business headquarters is in a particular state, registered within that state, and
Hmm.
your taxes are current, or your taxes are you're up to date on your taxes of whatever that may be. Then you start to get into some wild stuff, because you can still vote even if you don't pay your taxes, um, from a U.S. perspective, from a person perspective. So do
Yeah.
you can't really require that. I mean, you could require it, but it doesn't seem like it would be equal representation. But then you go to, you have the thing of, okay, well, I'm still going to headquarter myself in another country, so I don't have to pay the taxes that I have to pay, and then I just create a shell company in whatever state I want to have representation, and say that company is headquartered there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shell company in all 50 states, and have all of
Yeah.
those shell companies.
And I got representation in all 50.
Then I got representation in all 50. Whereas, you know, you could kind of essentially do the same thing when it comes to, they could do the same thing with money. So I think the only thing that you're going to be able to do is, if you take any type of lobbying or political contributions out of the House and the Senate, and then
Hmm.
make it to where the only place that you can have those contributions from that perspective that aren't from, an individual or one person. And to be honest with you, I think that that should only be the House of Representatives. I don't think that the Senate should have the ability at the state level to take any money from any
Yeah,
organization other than the state, because they're supposed to represent the state.
the state. Yeah, agreed. That all of that money, any sort of influence should be coming directly from the state. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, but even from that perspective, they're already representing the state. What do they need? What do they need to be given money for?
I mean,
It's your
well, no,
it's your job. It's your job to to fight for
but
what our state wants.
the only thing I could think is campaign finance. But I mean, I think that's
Well,
a
that should be
completely
funded by the
separate.
state.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Um,
then you're talking about that. Who are you campaigning? You have to campaign, like right now. The 17th Amendment, I believe it was, changed it to a popular vote, amongst the people. So, are you really representing the state, quote unquote, by being a popular vote of all the people? I mean, to an extent, yeah. But it's
so, are you
supposed
thinking that the Senate should go back to that the
being elected by
representatives
the
are elected
legislature.
by the legislature?
I don't know. I mean, it's something we have to discuss. We haven't even gotten to Section 3 yet.
Yeah.
But you have to look at this from a holistic standpoint. If you take and you add a third group to the Congress, we have to go back and look at the House of Representatives and see how all that, like, you have to look from
Oh
the
yeah.
ground up of a tricameral, like, how do you divide powers, like if you're giving businesses to be able to vote on, you know everything, if you're giving them a voice in government that's supposed to help protect the people and promote their general welfare from a business perspective, how many businesses are out there trying to promote the general welfare of their constituency? Yeah.
No,
Like,
I mean, and that like that's
I mean,
my constant struggle with capitalism, where most, and I'm not saying all businesses,
yeah,
but most businesses, it's the bottom line and nothing else. Like
yeah. Who wants to pay?
it's
Who wants paid maternity
more.
leave? Who wants to give sick days? Who wants to give
Yeah.
time off? No business wants to give those things. Like, they give those things
I
out of
want
a
I want
necessity.
revenue, and yeah, I want
Yeah,
revenue because that generates profit
correct,
and nothing else.
correct.
And
So
that is my goal.
yeah, so that's, I mean, and for some reason they don't understand that if your employees are happy, they'll make you more money.
Yeah, they're going to work harder for you, and you're going to make more money. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be lost on a lot of companies.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at all the shit going with the return to office and
Oh
the
yeah,
this. I mean, I was looking at some of the stuff the guy from the CEO from AT&T is running his mouth about, and I'm just like, bro, like, putting these people on, basically monitoring them the entire time that they're at work using using AI or using different programs uh, to to set metrics, and
yep,
basically if you don't meet those metrics, then you're not a productive employee.
yeah,
Which is really, and it's not a holistic view of what that person is actually doing. And I'm not saying that there's not people that are working from home that are fucking off and
yeah. But
not.
is their work getting done?
Yeah, and that's the question we always ask when my philosophy as a manager, or even if I was a C-level employee, is like, are you doing what I ask you to do? Are you getting the job done?
Yep.
And if the answer is yes, I really don't
Yeah.
give two shits what you're doing during the day.
As
Don't
long
care.
as you're meeting expectations or exceeding.
Yeah,
If you're meeting or exceeding, I don't care where you are. I don't. You could be
yeah,
sitting on the beach, drinking, a non-alcoholic beverage. I don't care. Is the work getting done? Are you completing the tasks that you've been assigned? Are you getting whatever the requirements of your job, are they being fulfilled
Yeah.
or exceeded? Then
And
I don't care where you are or how you're doing it as long as it's getting done. Like
yeah.
from a business perspective, like
Yeah. And I know we're running a bit off topic here.
yeah,
I'm trying to think
well,
how to circle us back around here.
well,
I mean, I guess the idea being that there's something in business that needs to change where there it the where the goal is not just more revenue, more. It's okay. Hey,
I
yeah,
mean that's
like
capitalism. I
I
don't know
know,
that you're
man,
going to get away from that.
and that's the part that kills me because I got to believe that there's something that can be put in place to.
Well, when you're, and I find it funny that people say that that's capitalism, that more and more and more, but there's a difference between taking advantage of the people
Right,
for the more and more and more
right,
versus lifting the people up with the more and more and more and more. People work better being rewarded. They're more productive when they're rewarded, when they are given the freedom to complete their jobs. So, and again, this goes back to, I mean, this is just a fundamental, a fundamental belief when it comes to business. You have people. Well, the best way to get more out of people is through fear, or the best way to get more out of people is to subjugate them, versus giving them the freedoms and the rights that they should be
well,
entitled to.
well, and
So
having a mutual respect between, you know,
exactly, and I think that
a
that needs to be reflected in whatever we do from from a government perspective. I mean, the whole point of the federal government is to protect and serve the people. That is the point of government. That is why the government is, going back to what you said about the Declaration of Independence. The unalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights of the people, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So, I mean, that is the whole point of the government, is to provide its people with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to protect life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of its constituents, um, and allow them to do so. And that's where there's a differing of opinion when it comes to, oh well, the government shouldn't regulate anything because we should be allowed to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. And then other people saying yes, but if the government doesn't regulate this stuff, then how am I going to be able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness? So,
hmm
so you get both sides of the coin of, well, do you have the regulation that allows you to pursue those things, or do you leave the regulation completely, off, so that you have the freedom to do, the freedom to be able to do those things? So, and that's where you have a differing of a fundamental thought process of, well, the government is, keeps me from pursuing, life, liberty, and happiness because they won't let me, you know, dump all my sewage in this river that's right here.
yeah,
Instead, they're going to make me pay to dispose it, which is going to, take away my happiness because now I got to spend money to do this. But then you have the
yeah,
person that lives downstream that's like, why is my water full of this
right,
crap that is killing, my fishing business, or killing my crop business because this is where I get my fresh water, or killing
right,
me, which is denying me my life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, do you have the EPA come in and say, well, you can't dump this stuff in there. Oh, or you're just regulating the business. Oh, we shouldn't have to. Or is it them protecting other people's ability for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Um, and that's, and you could take the quote unquote the libertarian perspective of, well, you would then take that person that's dumping that sludge in, to court, and then they should pay for the reparations of having to do that, and that's going to prevent other people from doing that, except for the fact that whenever you get to a certain level of income and capability, you just make it go away, and then you don't get proper reparations of the people that were affected by whatever
Right.
whatever they were doing, which you see time and time again. I mean, they've made movies about it, about how businesses will poison land, poison water, poison air, and then they have no repercussion. If they've made their millions and billions, and then they get a little slap on the wrist and say, "Don't do that again," and then they move on and they go exploit other things.
Well,
So
like Aaron Brockovich, right? Like, I
exactly.
mean, and she spent years fighting these companies that were not, not acting in a moral fashion. I
Correct.
like while you were talking, I was trying to reconcile, like, thinking back to Adam Smith and the creation of capitalism, and so I had ChatGPT work some stuff out for me. He's saying Smith argued that when individuals pursue their own self-interest, say a baker wanting to make money, they inadvertently promote the good of society by providing goods and services people need. It is not the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner. That's what he said. And and I love this part of it because it plays on the idea that people can be greedy, and that they can act in their own self-interest, and
Yes.
that you can play on an idea that greed is good, which I don't necessarily ascribe to, and I don't think that that's true, and that through that you can that you can create wealth and resources and happiness for other people. But the other side of the coin is that, he wrote in the theory of moral sentiments, said that humans are not purely selfish. They have sympathy, what we call empathy. We care about how others see us and about fairness. Sympathy acts as a social regulator, preventing markets from collapsing into cruelty or corruption. He
That
thought people's
is.
desire for
Sorry. Go ahead.
approval
Yeah.
for approval and moral reputation help balance self-interest. The problem I think
That's
we
very
have right now,
idealistic.
yeah,
That's
exactly,
very
and
idealistic.
exactly. But that was the idea of capitalism, and we've been doing this for 300 plus years, or moving in this direction, and it's like that doesn't work. Like to sit there and say that, well, people will act in their own self-interest, but they'll also have sympathy, and they'll have empathy for other people. That's just not there. And to me, it seems like a lot of the people that do the best in this system, and move up the ladder, are the people that have the least amount of sympathy and empathy in
Correct.
their hearts and in their minds.
Well,
Um,
yeah. You have to, in order to be able to go that quick, to be able
and
to
yeah,
take advantage of all of that and to not care,
and the
because
system rewards it, and
yes,
that's the other problem too.
yes, it does reward it, because you can just find somebody else to take advantage of.
Yeah.
There's enough people that are on the other side of that, on the, well, I can, this person only has one of something, I can give them two, and they're going to do whatever I want them to do when I have 15. I
Right.
can give them one, and now I don't have to give this other person the four that I was giving them. So I'll save three by giving this person one, and then they'll have two, more than they've ever had before. And then when that person says, "Hey, well, I see what everybody else has. I want three now," and you're like, "Oh, you'll argue for the three. You'll get the three." And then at some point, the person that has the 15, the more that they lose, they're going to be like, "Well, wait a second. Let me go find another person that has one. Get rid of this person that I'm giving the four to, and then I'll go back and I'll have three again. I'll have, I'll be paying back down to one instead of four." So I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Well,
it's
and
unfortunate.
I, Yeah, and I was going back to what you were thinking about the, the dumping in the river, and it's like, well, now I have to go pay to dispose of this material, and it's going to cost me, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
hindering my pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness.
yeah, but it's like, okay, so what is happiness if you have to pay that money and you can no longer afford that Maserati and you have to get a Mercedes or a BMW? Is that really impeding the pursuit of someone's happiness? Like
Yes,
and I know that's perspective and that's
because
and that's
I
different
really
for
wanted that
everybody.
yacht, and now I
Yeah.
can't get the
But
yacht because I had to pay this
but I
$1 million.
but I would like to believe, and this could be idealistic too, that there is a universal truth of when it comes to being a consumer and and the things that we have that there is where at some point it's too much, like and like
Yes and no.
where we can come together as a majority or as a group and be like, hey brother, like
Yeah, but
this
see,
isn't. Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that. If we could actually get the group of people together, but we can't because we're too worried about, other differences between us.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're talking about really way off topic. Um, so, so do you give businesses the ability to join the legislature? Do you give them the ability to vote on things? Do you give them the ability to have representation within the government that's supposed to protect it's of the people, by the people, for the people, and protect their pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness? Do you give
I
them the ability to represent that? And I think that this is probably the biggest thing that I like about it is you would take away the ability for lobbying within the House and Senate and make it to where the only place that you could have any type of lobbying is in the commerce.
Yeah. And and I like that idea too. And I think the only way you do it is if you can gatekeep the other two bodies of Congress away from business. Because in my mind, what that does is because right now, to a certain extent, not maybe wholly or completely, but I feel like corporations and businesses they have access to both those houses of representation.
Yep,
To a certain extent, they own it all.
correct.
And so, if you take that away, and then you give them this third body, now they only have a third of the representation. But then you have like there has to be guardrails and things in place that make it incredibly difficult for those businesses to get at the representatives in the other two bodies, and there would have to be steep consequences for
Well,
um, for people
the
that break the rules.
the way the yeah well the way I see it, I mean, one would be any representative um, of that congressional body would not be able to hold any other office in government. Period.
Yeah,
So if you're elected to the commerce, you can't be part of any other because you're essentially represented businesses. So there's no reason you should be representing any other the people or in any other way. The second would be that, I mean, the legislature still works in the way it does. Bills originate in the House, and then they can take a detour through the Chamber of Commerce, and then eventually end up in the Senate.
yeah,
You don't give the chamber the last vote, or you don't allow things. I mean, maybe you allow things to start there. Maybe I don't think that makes sense though. I think that you just give them the ability to, um, have some say in the legislature that's being put forth, but still, I mean, I have a hard time with that even. Like, what type of business entity is going to vote for higher higher taxes on business. None.
Right.
But
Well, and
again, you know,
I think you would have to set something up like where it's like, well, hey, if 2 out of 3 bodies pass this pass this law, then it goes up to the executive branch, something like that, like it does today.
yeah.
And then the other thing that I'm kind of thinking about is that there's certain bills to do with commerce and finance that have to start in the House of Representatives. And I'm wondering if there's something along those lines where you could do that, where it's something to do with business or like something along those lines where those bills would start in that particular body of legislation.
Where does healthcare?
Not there. I'll tell you right, because
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like as you think about this more and more, it's like, well, what do they have a say on? I mean, if
yeah,
it's commerce, what international trade?
maybe international trade. Um,
Interstate commerce. Like what exactly are they going to be? They're representing businesses, so they're representing the rights and the rights and liberties. Okay, so they're representing the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness by the business. So what is that? Lower taxes, lower regulation, lower whatever. The main thing that you're doing here is you're getting out the ability for a business to buy representation or take representation away from the people of the state.
yeah,
I mean, and giving them a voice, even though they're obviously going to argue that they don't have enough representation, that they're the reason that this country is even what it is because of businesses, that they should get all the money and then hand out the money as they see fit to people that they see worthy of getting the money.
right. Or people
So
that are going to further their interests.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, you know, and the fact that we're even talking about giving business representation in a government that's supposed to be for the people, but it's more so to just get them to appease, I guess you could call it, to appease them, so that they'll a way to get them out of taking away representation of the people in the states.
Yeah, I and I agree with you, but I also I mean and there, like you were saying a minute ago, there is an argument to be made saying that they are that businesses and in general are sort of the backbone of how we how we disperse resources, how we grow as a country. I'm trying to think of.
And then, well, I mean, also on top of that, you're giving more representation to quote unquote the people because
Yeah,
businesses are owned by people. So you can have, you take, you take somebody like, I don't know, Oracle or Google or whatever, and they create, 50 subsidiaries and they go into each state and then they're paying, people. And then it's a fight between the businesses to get their representation,
yeah,
to pay for their representation within the whatever. And, the businesses, being able to elect the people that they want. And I almost kind of want it to be to where they're fighting over their representation. Like,
well, because we're doing the same thing at the end of the day. Like,
yeah,
you vote for the person that's going to represent your interests in the best possible way. At least that's the goal, right?
yeah. But again,
Uh,
you're talking about one vote per person, one vote per business, but you can register as many business entities as you want, like and
well,
headquarter them wherever you want them.
yeah.
So the fact that you could have 10,000 votes in a state for your representative to essentially kill all other possibilities of a different person, a different
I think there's guardrails that have to be put in place with that. Like, and
Yeah, but
you know,
how do
I
you
don't know how
regulate
you
it?
regulate that, man. Like, and I think that's a completely different. Like, I mean, if we were really going to go down this road with like a completely different discussion, I'd almost want to talk to a legal scholar about that. About how do you, how like, you know, and especially when you look at like forensic accounting and different stuff like that, you know, where you you know there's you can bring in a team of people and they can spend weeks going through people's data and people's books to try and figure out where is this money going, who owns what, like and who's really pulling the strings.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the problem too. Like that's some things that need to get simplified. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, where shell companies, like, should shell companies be allowed? Like, should you know
Yeah.
what?
Well, that's the question. What is are you is only one person allowed to register a business? You're saying that people can't own multiple businesses?
Well, I don't know.
And that's where you get like you can literally create as many and this is also the problem with something like Citizens United. You know, you're saying businesses have the ability, you know, businesses are people too. Cool. Well, I just created, you know, 500,000 people by registering, you know, you know, 500,000 businesses across the United States with different names and using, you know, whatever address, you know, that I want to. But now I have the ability to, because it's from a business perspective with Citizens United, they don't get a vote. You don't get the businesses don't get a vote on anything, but they do have the ability to send money to people, and they vote with the dollar. You know, that's
Right.
essentially where that comes from. So, you know, how do you take that dollar voting out of, you know, out of government?
Out of politics. Yeah.
And that's the whole thing with relegating it to one specific group within a branch, to where they're the only ones, you know, and you know, let someone game that system. You know, I don't think that's why you limit the ability or the power of that particular group, because you know people are going to game it. You know that it's just money, you know, money is just floating around in whatever, and but you have to look at it from the perspective of, if the government is supposed to be for the people and it's supposed to protect their life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you can't have you can't have the ability of a person to one person or 10 people or 50 people manipulate the representation of the people. And
Yeah.
that is what businesses do. They have the ability to, hey, here, take this, you know, go on this vacation, go, you know, here's this job. We're going to give you a job, give your family jobs, give your friends jobs, and they're going to make, you know, $10 million a year. And some of the businesses look at it like, $10 million a year. This is chump change for us to make hundreds of millions, if not more, or
Right.
even from the perspective of any type of insider trading, to get information, even just to be able to get that information, and have an in to be able to pull that information as, hey, we're going to be voting on this. Hey, this is coming up, or this is, you know, we've gotten, you know, this information, and this is going to happen for this business. So, you know, to be able to take that information's power.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well,
all of those things. How do you stop it?
I did have a thought in my head, but you know, I don't know if it would work out very well. I'm wondering, like as you register businesses, or you know, or create businesses in states, or you know, wherever, like the cost is incremental in how much you pay, you know, to incorporate. And
I
I
don't,
mean,
but
like,
I don't understand. How do you increment the cost if you just register a new business every time? It'll be the base price.
well, like, so if you register, like, if a name for the business, on the board of directors or whatever it ends up being, or if it's a sole proprietorship or whatever, every time that name, every time you hit on that name, it's like, oh, okay, you registered your last business for $1,500 for the
Yeah.
year. Well, the next one's 4,000. The next one's 8,000. Like, and
I get
it
it.
was just, but then the other thing I was thinking about what you said is maybe, and I'm paraphrasing you here. So let if I'm putting words in your mouth, let me know.
Yeah.
Um, that you basically just create this congressional body and say, hey, businesses, this is the only place that you can play this game,
Yep.
that you can run this,
Yep.
and then you limit that congressional body's power. You give them
Correct.
some power,
Yep.
and then that's all they can do. And so if they want to sit there and they want to play those stupid games,
Yep.
um,
Go for it.
yeah, go for it, have fun. We're not gonna regulate you, like
Here's your sandbox. Go play in it.
yeah, yeah, and then we're gonna limit you through the other two bodies
Yep.
of Congress.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah, and,
because
and I think that because you and me have always talked about this. Like, do we want more regulation? No, I don't. At the end of the day, I would like people to behave conscientiously and with empathy and with sympathy.
yep,
Um, but
there's always one driving factor,
yeah,
like nowadays, and
there,
it's money.
there's always somebody trying to
Mo-
ice skate uphill.
money,
You know?
money is always going to be the driving factor. Like the old saying, $20 is $20, right?
Yeah, that's right. It is.
No, but you're talking, you see things all the time. If I what would you do if I was going to give you $1 million right now? The things that people are willing to do are, oh, you want me to go, take a salary from a government entity, and all I got to do is sit there and vote the way you want me to vote. Okay,
Yeah,
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 and I get to live whatever, and I get to make money, and you're going to give me this, and that's like the easiest life, rather than me living trying to figure out you know, how to find my next meal, and you want to give it all
yeah.
to me. I get to ride around in limos and this, yeah. I mean, why
Yeah.
not?
It significantly uncomplicates my life by you giving me that. It makes that part of my life so much easier.
Yep,
Uh, I
I'll do
I
whatever you
saw
want.
this I saw this amazing reel the other day where this guy, this woman, she was talking about, she wanted to know if guys would take, uh, she said $100,000 a back shot is what she said. and then and then this dude with this Australian accent, I think the Australian accent made it so much better. What he would like for about 2 minutes, he's like working through it. He's like trying to figure it out. He's like, man, it's $100,000, like, and it's only it's just a back shot, like, and
Yeah,
then finally after the 2 minutes, he gets through it and he's like, all right, so when do I meet Chad?
that's funny. I mean,
But it's the exact idea that you're talking about.
yeah,
Everybody's got their price.
and that's the thing about it is, and you have these companies or these people that have millions upon billions of dollars, to just throw around, and sort of manipulate however they want to manipulate, because when you get to it's the law of large numbers, right? Like when you get to a certain extent, you just get closer and closer and closer to where it doesn't make a difference. Like when
Yeah.
you're in the billions of dollars, spending $100,000 a day is nothing. Like
Hmm.
that's literally pennies to a person that has billions of dollars.
Right.
$100,000 is nothing, but to the homeless person on the street, $100,000 is going to feed
Life
them
changing.
for a year at least.
Yeah.
Like they'll be able to go, get food.
That's
They'll
a
be
lot of
able to.
McDonald's.
That's a lot of McDonald's. So the difference, and you see this all the time. People talking about people's lives, how different they are. Um, it's a person that has the ability to go out and buy anything that they want at any time, anywhere, any place. And then, the person that is just trying to, find a place to lay their head. Like,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
huge difference. So back to what we were talking about.
well, and it's a difference in cognition too.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you're you're thinking your mind is and your presence is in a completely different place from one person to the next.
without a doubt. So I mean, and that's where is does making a business, a commerce group within the Congress, does it make sense? What limits do you put on them? What powers do they have? From that perspective, and I don't think that this is something that we can just. I mean, obviously, this needs to be worked out, like you said. Talking to somebody that understands, the legalities of it, and understands the loopholes, but working those things through. Because everybody wants to get lobbying out of government. Everybody wants businesses to stop.
Well, except the lobbyists and
Well,
the
I
business.
mean, except for the businesses that are currently, owning the people that do it. And I'm not saying all representatives do it. There's some representatives that take no money from any lobbyist and I'm pretty sure that the lobbyists know that they don't. It's not like they're trying to approach, certain people to get them to do something when they know that those people, basically tell them to go pound sand.
Hmm.
But what, from that perspective, how do you, is this the way to do it? Give them their own sandbox, give them their own whatever, and let them destroy the crap out of it. Throw their money around, get their representation, game the system, do all of this, so that they can do whatever they want in that representation,
Yeah.
knowing that you have state representation and people representation that is sort of going to counter it. I mean, just like you have the three branches of government. You
Yeah.
have the three branches of Congress, and you get a 2-to-1 vote. But the key part being keeping businesses out of the representation of other entities, keeping them
Yeah.
out of the representation of the people, keeping them out of the representation of the states.
Yeah. And I think the only way that works is you have to put stiff consequences on because stiff consequences on businesses interfering with the other two bodies, the existing bodies of Congress. Um, and I guess I sort of look at it as like an olive branch. It's like, well, hey, we could have kicked you out completely
Yeah,
and taken
no
money out of
lobbying
it.
and just take
Yeah, yeah. But like we understand that you do need representation, that
do they
that you have it.
do they?
Well, I think at the end of the day, they haven't that they're to a certain extent, their interest serves the people. Like going back to what Adam Smith said, it's like where it is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner.
Yeah,
They they and but because they're self-interested and they want to make money, through that they are able to grow the economy, grow their business, employ people, like and do many great things, and all of the wealth and the resources that have come out of this country in the last 250 years. That's all through the economy and people's self-interest and their hard work and their um, and wanting, and to a certain extent wanting more, wanting better. It's just when you and I believe that deserves its own interest in the governing body. I just think that there should be limits on it, and there aren't right now.
yeah. Okay. So I think that we're gonna have to take that and
Table it.
conceptualize and figure not just table it, but it needs to have more. It needs to be fleshed out more. It needs to be.
Yeah.
We need to get a better handle on it. And I don't, I mean, we've already spent an hour talking about it, and I think it's something that needs to need to take a hard look at. Need to actually, hey, Because if you're giving representation to the states, you're giving representation to the people. I mean, the other thing that makes our country as great as it does is the business, is
Yeah.
the like all of the work that gets put into to create the economy and run the economy and all that. So, but they need to have their own represent. Like they can't be taking away the representation of
The people.
the other parts of the
Yeah, the
country.
people in the states. They can't be
Yeah.
taken away from that. Yeah, yeah, because it's an I guess I look at it, as an inequality, right?
Yep.
Like right now, it's like either the people in the states get representation or businesses get representation.
Yep.
Whereas we need to make it like they here like not an inequality where hey you get this much representation, you get this much representation, and you get this much representation.
Yeah.
And you know whether that's an equality or not, I'm not too certain on, who gets more, who gets less, and that's the thing. That just popped into my head, and that something that needs to get fleshed out uh, in the whole idea of this.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that's going to be, you know. So I mean, if we take what where we left off last time, because we're gonna take and look at what we need. How do we, you know, what would you even call that? It's not a branch. Grant vested in Cairo, which shall consist of.
Well, I would just say a tricameral legislature, and then we need to flesh out what the third body of probably another section because
House of
the
Commerce
yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. House of Commerce. Yeah, because what section 3 is the Senate, and I think
Yeah.
section 4 the House of Representatives?
No, no, no. Two is the House. Three is the
2 is
Senate.
the House. My bad.
Two is the
Yeah,
House. Three
so
is the Senate.
maybe we just bump whatever section 4 is, and then put in the House of Commerce in section 4.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously we need to work through what all those things are. I don't know if you want to do that today or if you want to, okay.
I think we move on.
Yeah.
Because we need more input on this.
Yeah.
That not just you and me.
Oh yeah. Per state, and I'll create a Reddit post about this so that people can talk in one representative per state. And any okay. Let's just do a switch here so that we can.
Bro, I gotta stop drinking so much water before we do this.
You need to.
We got
You need
yeah,
to.
we got time for a potty break.
Yeah, go for it. While I'm doing this, you can go ahead and
Okay.
take care of that, and then
Right.
when you come back, we'll continue. And I'll just while I'm typing this up, we'll play a little. Play a little. Huh. Play a little music, right? Let's see. Do. Little music while we take a little intermission. While typing this up. Any other? Let's see. Oh, really? Let's see. requirement. Live in the state. Live in state. And I think, because you're probably going to want to have, like, our business is going to be limited by states. I mean, just like the people and the populations are in the House of Representative or by states. I'm just trying to think. Do we keep it relegated to states? I don't. I mean, when you take stuff outside of the states, it starts to get a little hairy of how that representation works. So
Yeah.
they have to live in
Well,
the
yeah,
state representing and cannot hold.
yeah. Off the top of my head, I think it makes sense to keep it within the bounds of federalism. Where you delegate the power down to the states.
Yeah. Well, and then also the whole thing, live in the state representing citizenship requirement. I mean, businesses have the ability to get things fast tracked through the government already. Do you make it longer? That way you can't have a business from China coming over. But again, it's another one of those things where I think the businesses are kind of gonna, you have a company that comes in from wherever and is trying to, from another country. You would think that the businesses within the U.S. are going to be like, hey, yeah, good luck, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But should there be a citizenship requirement for what, 2 years, 5 years? Should there be, like, I know in the House when we did that, they have to live in their state for 2 years, but the
Oh,
citizenship
the actual
requirement,
representative.
yeah, the
Yeah,
actual
I think
representative,
there should be. Um,
5 years
a,
citizenship requirement.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Live in state representing for, I like 2 years. I like that. Cannot hold any
And
other.
then we're saying a U.S. citizen for 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. 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 I mean, unless you want to make it a different country citizenship. All right, so
No.
we'll go from there, and we'll get that. So section 2, which is the House of Representative, we did 4-year elections, 2-term limit. So they're essentially they can do 8 years. Do we want to have term limit on the business representative? I mean, so here's my thought on term limit. Do you really want to have the same person representing whatever group of people for 30, 40, 50 years versus getting fresh people in? My thought is you'd be better off with the fresh people because everybody's going to bring a different perspective. No
Well,
matter
yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, no matter whether or not they were good, like, you still need to get that fresh. Like, it's still good to not give someone that sole power for that amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we limit it to a generation, like 20 years, so that way, because when we've had discussions about how generationally things change, and you know, and how that representation is not seeming to change in the House, and the
So,
where you have people that are 60 and 80 years old, and they have no idea what the struggles of
twenty,
somebody who's
30, 40 years, yeah, of a
yeah,
younger
and
generation.
what they're going through.
Yeah,
I'm I can't imagine there's a lot of senators and a lot of representatives that are in their 60s and 70s that are
that have been
that are on
senators
Facebook.
for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah. Well, and that are on Facebook, or that are deeply entrenched in social media, and all of the
Yeah,
things that are going on in our society for that generation.
yeah.
So, uh, you know, m- maybe, like I said, maybe set a limit to a generation.
So a generation, we're on this 4 year kick. Um, you know, do you do 8 year terms and a term limit of 16 years so they can get elected twice? I mean, you're talking about a business from a business perspective, like,
Yeah.
or do you make it every 4 years and with a 16 year term limit,
Hmm.
or do you do every 8 years?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about the pros and cons of either. I mean,
Be-
if you
because
do
it's up to the
4 years,
businesses. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's their thing, and I think that they should get the power within within some sort of legislature for them to be able to quote unquote replace a person that's within, if they have someone in there within 4 years, they don't do,
well, yeah, and they're screwing them over, and
yeah,
and they're voting on these policies that go completely against what and are causing damage to their business. And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. If I was looking at it from the perspective of a CEO, I would want a shorter time period, so I could
So do a four
make
year
changes. Yeah,
max of 16.
yeah.
I mean,
I
because
think I think
I mean, you could do 20, I guess.
I think
But
16 is good. I mean, that's close enough to what I was talking about about a generation.
yeah, um, I don't think that you need to have an age limit. I think the businesses are going to take care of that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, and the people that are going to be voting on that are going to be pretty savvy.
Well, not only that, I mean, see, and this is what I would find funny about that is watching how that would work, like
Yeah.
how,
'Cause it-
like, the businesses who they're going to appoint to do this. It would be, I think it would be fascinating to watch this happen.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but I'd also be wondering, are there going to be like regular, somebody that doesn't own a business that just incorporates a few businesses just so they can, you know, just so they can get a few votes, or what, or have some kind of say in the representation. I don't know though. That
It does need to be worked out a little bit more, because when you can create votes like that,
yeah.
eh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
it does get a little hinky.
exactly.
I,
But again, my feeling on it is, have at it.
yeah.
If anything, you're bringing in revenue to the state, because the states can then, they can start charging. But see, then they run up the cost of registering the business and doing that, and then it makes it harder for small business people to create businesses, because the registration fees are exorbitant. But I still think that
But then think about this: if those businesses by doing that start hurting the states and hurting business in that state
then the
and the
state is
economy,
going to,
then the state is going to regulate it.
yeah. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see how that all that pans out.
Well,
I really
I
do.
mean the 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 founders of the Constitution they framed this all as an experiment.
Oh
Like
yeah,
let's do another experiment. Let's see
yeah.
how this goes.
Okay, so House of Representatives, we went through this. 4 year elections, 2 term limit, citizenship requirement, primary residence, 2 years that they represent, 18 years, 18 years old, and I think the biggest one is the redistricting based on an open source algorithm. Like, that was a big thing that we hit right at the end of our last conversation,
Yeah.
was was the open source algorithm for redistricting, and I think
Yeah.
that there needs to be. Whoops! Don't do that. I think that there needs to be something from the perspective of what information, regulation of information accepted, of what information is going to be given to the algorithm.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, the input has to be regulated, and it has to be the same across the board. It has to be understood and accepted by I guess each state, or
Do you?
or regulated at a federal
I was going
level.
to say that's what I'm sitting here thinking. Like you could do a third party, but the third party can be bought or whatever. So I mean,
Yeah.
even from a federal level, regulated. But then who at the federal level regulates that and creates the rules for it? That would be Congress. They're the legislative body. So the legislative body would be the ones that create this.
But
But then
that creates a chicken and egg scenario.
exactly,
Because if they're the body that regulates that, and that's how they're getting elected, that in my head becomes a problem.
correct.
And so it's like, how do you? So it in my mind, it has to be something that's nonpartisan.
How do you do that?
That is a good question.
I mean, you have you take it, you create it, have a third party that creates it, and then you have you have to have some sort of body to validate that. And I know you said open source, so you can have the people validate, right, to bring things
Yeah.
up. But then who says that it's good and
I,
good or
I
bad?
wonder if you could get a development team to do it and not tell them what they're doing.
Oh, come on.
But you get what
So
I'm
you
saying,
want us
right?
to take census data, and you want us to put in this thing and
But call it something else. I
create
like.
districts,
Oh,
create certain sections of states that have a certain number of people. Algorithm that does this automatically. So you're saying it's sort of like a redistricting thing? No, not at all. Not at all. That's not what we're doing here.
no, man, you're going to the
No.
completely wrong place.
No, I don't know what you were thinking. No, 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 no. This has nothing to do with that.
Here's my thing. Like you could generalize it where you say, hey, come
Oh,
up with a.
just stop. Just,
Don't tell me what to do, man.
just there's no way you can't cut this, man.
Don't call it census data. Say, hey, come up with a
Take this
come up
population
with a list of
data.
variables that you would use. Like, come on, man. Like I'm not saying it wouldn't be difficult because it would, but
Come on.
but for you to just dismiss it out of hand and say that it's impossible, I don't believe that's true.
We can find people that are ignorant enough to not know
Well,
what they're
not
doing.
only the people that are ignorant enough, but
Absolutely.
people that know how to code and know how to program. Yeah,
Wait.
and create their own algorithms.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Just ask ChatGPT. We could get this algorithm completed and done, and no problem. And then nobody will we don't
And
have to ask anybody about it.
and let's
ChatGPT will never know.
okay,
We'll vibe code it.
but what you just said, maybe that's the answer. Maybe we just have AI do it, and that's and that is the arbiter of truth, because then there's no feelings in it. There's no
Well, no,
there's
I
no human
agree.
emotion.
So we're gonna okay. So is it going to be Grok? Is it going to be Gemini? Is it going to be ChatGPT?
I don't know.
Is it going to be like? Well, no. I mean, anything can be manipulated. Anything by the people can be manipulated. The only thing you can do is trust but verify. We talked about this, trust but verify, even from the election process. Hey, yeah, trust that the machine's going to count them, but then get eyes on it.
Yeah.
Validate what information is coming out, because
Yeah, and cross check everything.
yeah, bad information in, bad information out. So for us to say that it's from an AI perspective, I don't disagree with you. I think that would be it would be great until AI catches on and is like, wait a second, you
Yeah,
mean to tell me
and then
that
somebody's layered into into the language model, or the or the
exactly,
neural net, that being a Democrat is better than, it's better to have Democrats in power than it is to have Republicans.
exactly,
Yeah,
what you really do is you go libertarian. It's
right.
like screw those other two parties. We're going green and libertarian. That's
Yeah,
what we're doing. We're going to go even further. Screw this.
sure.
And
Yeah,
then all those unaffiliated people, all those independents and unaffiliated,
yeah.
they can have their own sections too. You're going to have snakes around. It's going to look like a tie dye shirt. That would be amazing. Okay, so nonpartisan have trust but validate output. I mean, you take it right now. You have people that are redistricting, and then they go and it goes to a vote within whatever the legislative body is, and then if people don't like it, they take it up to the court, and then the court decides whether or not it's legal or not. I mean, that's the whole trust but verify within our own government. Is it essentially goes up to the court that says, hey, is this legal or illegal or whatever, and then
Yeah.
depending on who's bought the court will depend on whether or
Right.
not it's legal or illegal.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. All right.
Yeah. That wasn't jaded at all.
Not at all.
Um,
So
but one more thing. I'll say this. I think even the fact that we're talking about doing an open source algorithm, and if we could actually get that passed and get that working, like I just that in and of itself is
it would be huge.
far and away better than
Massive.
than what
Yes.
we're dealing with now.
Oh yeah,
So
without a doubt. And
yeah,
I could almost guarantee that somebody has worked on this. Like there is something somewhere. Somebody has done something of that nature.
yeah,
You know, if not, somebody do it. Okay. All right.
yeah. Somebody
So,
needs to get to work.
Yeah, somebody needs to get their. In the famous words of Morty, somebody needs to get their stuff together. All right, so are we done with section 2? We done with
I
section
think
2?
so. Yeah, for now. And
I
I mean that
think
wasn't really section 2. We were kind of creating a new section.
no, that was section 2. We were talking about. Oh, you're talking about for the election? No, actually, no. That is in. Like that is
No,
part of it.
I was talking about the hour-long discussion we had about a third.
Oh, that
A
was
third
section
body.
1. We revisited section 1. That's
Okay,
what that was.
fair enough.
Yeah. Now, and we did section 2. We're done with section 2. Literally, the biggest thing is the redistricting, is the representation, which is this part. Subsequent term of 10 years in such manner, a number of representatives. But yeah, so that's in there too. Do 4-year elections with a 2-term limit. So we're saying 8 years in representation of the people.
Say 4 years, a possible 16 years.
4-year elections, 2-term limit. Four-year terms. Sorry, 4-year
Yeah,
terms.
I thought we were doing 4-term limit.
4-term. Well, that
Yeah,
was
'cause didn't we?
that was for the business. Do we
Oh
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
do we want to do that with all of it? Like, do you want to give a generational thing? Like, is that what we do? Each you can represent for a generation and then you're out. Or do we, for the ability of the representation of the people, do we want to lessen it so that there's more variety?
Yeah.
Like what makes sense from a representation of the people perspective? And we had this discussion a long
Yeah, we
time,
did.
but
I think we keep it the same for now.
2-term?
In my head, and then because I don't like I see the arguments on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know, maybe. And then didn't we talk about keeping it longer in the Senate? I think we limit the House a little bit more because again
It's
we
supposed to
talked
be
about that
the
being
people. It's
yeah the
supposed to be about
people.
the people.
You're supposed to be closest to the people.
Um,
And honestly, like if you're sitting in Congress for 16, 20 years or the House of Representatives, are you like after you're there for that long, do you really
represent the
understand
people.
what? Yeah, do you really represent the people at that point?
Yeah.
Because you're living a completely different life than the people in your district.
Yeah. So what about? So I know that, and this is a big thing for me, just for the fact of, for the business representation, they can't hold any other federal office before or after term. because then you're just introducing the bias into the government. You know, they've been paid millions of dollars, so you know they can't go for the House of Representatives or the Senate or whatever. Like it doesn't make sense for people to be able to switch. What about from the House? Should a representative of the people be able to go to Senate, or should they be able to? I don't see a problem with it.
I don't either. I think we should limit not only no federal office, like no federal contracting, no federal, basically no federal money after that point. The only rational progression I could see, you could go from the House to the Senate, and then or the House to the presidency, or the House or the Senate to the presidency.
So
That's my thought.
so you're well now wait a second. Do you think you should have to be elected to a different office of government in order to be? We'll have to wait till we get
President?
to the executive. Yeah, we'll have to wait
Yeah,
till we get to the executive
yeah.
branch for that. But okay, so you're saying from the business perspective, no federal contracts or monies can be awarded to what? The business, the person, the like.
The person.
How are you even going to regulate? You know what? So they can't hold. How I don't think that you can do that. That person can't get any federal monies. Like I don't understand that. What if
Well, dude,
their
he's getting a
business?
retirement he or she is getting a retirement for the rest of their lives.
Well, I
I,
mean, we haven't put anything in here as far as them being paid by the government.
I was thinking under the current system.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of those things. So I don't think you should limit them to be able to hold to be able to get government contracts or anything of that nature, because
Okay.
if that person, I mean, if you really wanted to do something like that, you'd be better off to. I think you just limit it because I don't see why the company like the company, whatever companies their rep or states, they should be able to go back into whatever business they want because they were representing business. So I don't see a problem with it. I don't see a
Yeah,
problem with the.
I guess I'm not saying no government contracts. I'm more along the lines of saying no. No, you can't walk out of the Senate and then walk across the street, get a job at a bureaucracy, as the director of, whatever it is.
Well, whatever federal, no federal office
Yeah,
or
yeah,
appointment.
and then or and I guess, and I'm thinking that there's a distinction between a business getting government contracts and a person being hired as a federal contractor. You get what I'm saying?
Cannot
Because
hold any other or okay, all right, being a federal
you,
contractor.
yeah, because they you can then go in and say like, oh, I can create this high level federal contract for me, and then I can uh, then go take that. Now, as far as
There you
being
go.
your business being awarded federal contracts, have at it.
Yeah. Okay. You're talking about being an employee of the government.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. The business can apply for a federal contract, but you can't
yeah,
be an employee of the contracted employee of the government. That makes sense. Okay. But for the House, I think the House and the Senate, we don't. I don't think that there should be any. I don't think there should be anything on that. All right. All right. Here we go. Hey, Josh. We've moved on to section 3.
we are killing it,
How
man.
do we? How do
We
we?
are
Is there
we
some
are
sort of
blazing through this.
like a tada or something that we could?
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Senate should be comprised of 2 senators from each state. So okay. So we talked about Senate 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature for 6 years, and each senator should have 1 vote. I don't. So and they changed that in the I think it's the 17th, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. provided for direct population of election of senators, and then 6 years. So then you have that off year. The do we want to do 6 years? I don't think 6 years is. I don't think it makes sense.
Right. Well, my understanding of the 6 years, it was put in place to as like an offset and to give people time to to travel and
Yeah.
do different kinds of things. And we're kind of living in a different world now.
Well,
And I don't know.
I would say, I mean, bump. Okay, so you're talking about if you take it and put it back in the hands of the state legislature, and this is another thing, and I think that this is one of the reasons why a lot of them took it to made it to where it was the popular vote, is because if a particular party gets control of the state legislature, well, then that's what you're going to be represented as in the Senate.
Yeah.
But
And then because we live in a bipartisan country, half the country's not going to be represented,
yeah,
or half of the state.
so how do you and you can't do something, well, if the state appoints, they have to appoint nonpartisan people. To be honest with you, I think if you do have the ability to take the lobbying out of it, and then the people are going to be voting, for the state once you take the lobbying out.
And you take the gerrymandering out of it too.
Well, the gerrymandering's for the House. That's not for the Senate.
Yeah.
Like the states
But
are still
the
going to have the
gerrymandering
ability.
would trickle down to the state legislatures.
Maybe
I
not.
I
You don't know,
see.
because the state can adopt whatever they want. We're not talking about
Yeah,
state. We're
see,
talking
but
about
that's
federal.
my thing. Is I feel like that should be federally regulated.
No.
I don't.
Nope.
You don't.
The
All right,
states
let
can
me hear it.
elect. The states can elect. It's the state's right to be able to elect whoever they want, however they want to do the election. I'm not saying it's right, but we're not talking about state law. We're talking about federal law. So I'm not.
And,
You
and I want to
don't
make a new federal law.
make a federal law that the states should, adhere to the redistricting or the
I mean,
districting of the.
when you have federal district courts that are ruling on the idea of whether a state's district lines are constitutional or not, I think that begs for federal legislation.
Isn't most representation? I mean, I could be wrong. Isn't most representation by county or do they not do that in states?
In California, I don't know and I don't care because I have uh, and I guess it really wouldn't matter to me anyways. Like, I don't feel like I have representation in the state legislature anyways. Um,
How U.S. state legislatures are is this state partisan? See, this is what I'm. Wait a second. Okay.
so in California, there's a commission called the Citizens Redistricting Commission, the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. It was a commission created by Prop 11 in 2008. Every 10 years after a federal census, the commission redraws boundaries. Congressional, state Senate, and state assembly.
So I believe that there's some states that do
It's just based on the county.
I think some of them are based on the districts of, like, they use the same districts representation, but some don't, because you can't accurately represent your state based on federal districts, because if you You take Vermont that has one district for the House. You know what I mean? Like North Dakota, South Dakota, one. So you have to. I think it's
Oh, okay.
by
Then,
county, right?
yeah. But okay, and if it is by county, I guess that's okay. I think.
Yeah,
But
they have
if they're
House
doing
of.
it like the CCRC board is doing, the rules they have, um, it that okay, so they have the Voting Rights Act and racial fairness. Maps must not discriminate based on the basis of race or ethnicity, and cannot dilute the minority voting strength. Um, and if you start talking about that, I just feel like we need to then in those cases, if that's how you're going to do it, you have to do it based on an open source algorithm.
See, this doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me that you would have. I don't. I don't understand this to an extent, but I guess that because if you have different cities, you're going to have different districts within each city.
Sure.
Because you can't, because a lot of cities, like you take Raleigh down here in North Carolina, it's Wake County. It's one, you know, and it is hard for me to talk about any other states
Oh,
because I
those are
don't know.
federal constraints. Those aren't state constraints. So the federal government is already putting constraints on on how things in the states can be districted.
They are
So why can't we add more?
where
The it,
it's
okay, hold on.
it would be in 17, wouldn't it? The 17th Amendment. Senators shall be composed of two senators to meet.
I'm getting real sick of ChatGPT right now. Like every question I ask it compliments me. Excellent question. You're thinking like a constitutional scholar now. Like fuck you, dude. Like I don't need you to like blow smoke up my ass every time I ask you a question, bro. Like,
That's great.
I don't need this. I
That's
don't need this
funny.
garbage from you. The so it's derived from the Voting Rights Act of 1965
So it's not in
and the
the
15th
Constitution.
Amendment. Yeah. Well, no, and the 15th Amendment prohibits denial of the right to vote on account of race or color.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, yeah.
but as far as the minority diluting the minority, let me see where.
I mean, I can understand that stuff, but it doesn't tell them specifically how to
Yeah.
elect representatives to their state. Like because you have, I mean, you could just look here at the different states. Some, like a lot of them are how legislatures, state legislatures, general assemblies. Like there's all different types of, House of Representatives, House of Delegates,
Yeah.
Assembly, General Assembly, State Assembly. There's all different kinds of different ways that this stuff is done. Upper house, lower house. Nebraska
The
has a unicameral. It only has one legislature in Nebraska. So I mean, they don't regulate who or how.
yeah.
So like Alaska is a 40-member House and a 20-member Senate. There are 40 districts, 40 House districts, and 20 Senate districts. So I mean,
Yeah.
and Alaska is the biggest state in the union.
Exactly.
So
And I think 90% of the population lives in one geographic area.
yeah.
You know.
So I mean, you take something like that, and then you look at something like Illinois or Pennsylvania or New York or California with all of its different cities and stuff like that. So I think again I'm gonna go back to this needs to be state, like the election of the legislature in the state needs to be left up to the state, how the state wants to regulate that. Now, from a federal perspective, and making sure that the legislature is accurately represented, from that perspective, it's a little different.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
Well, my thing goes back to what you were saying about bad information in, bad information out, garbage in, garbage out. So
Yeah,
if we get garbage at the state level, then you're going to get garbage at the federal level when it comes to the Senate.
I
That's
don't
my
disagree.
concern in that.
I don't disagree. My the only thing about it is, how do you put any type of regulation from that perspective?
Well, well, I guess the question that I would ask is like, how can you, because at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that the state is represented at the federal level, and then the and then the, and then when you take that back, an abstraction, the state represents the people,
Correct.
and
Well,
so
yeah,
within the state. So how do we make, or well, two questions. One is, do we, from a federal perspective, do we need to regulate how those people in the to a certain extent how those people in that state get regulated, and then B, the next question is, can we do that in a reasonable fashion? Eh, and I'm thinking in an algorithmic fashion,
yeah.
in a fair fashion.
Well, I mean, it all, because you're talking about, because the state legislatures, they have the ability to create their own districts based on their own state constitution and that type of stuff. So that's where you're that's where you're going to run into issues from that perspective. You're The ability to not disenfranchise, or to have any type of discrimination, or that, based on whatever, from the federal level to pass that down to state level. I mean, the only I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, you can literally take the same algorithm that we have from the federal level, and then
Hmm.
just change the population.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be what it is change the area and change the population. Hey, for this, do this same thing for this state, and then, based on however many seats or however many whatever you have it create the same type of map. So you could, I mean, you could take the same algorithm that is used from a federal level for each state for the House of Representatives, and then pull it down to the state level. I mean, it's
yeah,
just a matter of changing the area and the population requirements.
yeah. But
But
I'm still thinking of your question. It's like, should this be
yeah,
regulated at that level, and or should we just let the states decide and set their own limits and their own regulations on power? And
I mean, the only thing that you have from a federal level is the ability to discern discrimination. Like, if you're taking it from a federal perspective, the main thing that you're trying to prevent is, you know, large, discrimination.
yeah,
And outside of that, you
well,
don't
and people
have,
not being represented fairly.
yeah, yeah, the people not being represented fairly. but that's also something from the state that you'd have to go state by state in order to get that done,
Yeah.
and change those constitutions within each state versus trying to. And this is one of the things, bigger government, more regulations on taking away the powers of the state and forcing the states to do what the government does. I think the first way to do that is through the regulation, or I mean, through the House and through the federal, or from the Senate, the representation that the states have within, the federal government. And then from that perspective, it's a matter of, you'd have to go state by state. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people, taking those rights away from the states. I mean, the whole Civil Rights Act, the slavery, abolishment of slavery and stuff like that. But I don't know that you want to. We're going to have that discussion, because do you want to push? Like I said, if we take the same redistricting algorithm that we use for the House, and we require the states to use that, and make it this is how you district. This is how all districting is done for the United States, whether it's at a city, town, county, state,
Yeah.
country
Whatever
level.
it ends up.
This is the redistricting algorithm that you use.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see something like that, but I don't. But again, you're talking forcing something on states, and it's bad enough that we're forcing them to use use it for the House, which is their federal representation, which I understand, but the representation within their own state, you're getting into some choppy water.
Yeah. I completely agree with you.
I don't think it's wrong. I mean, I don't think you're wrong in that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from the perspective, and dude, I'm all about trying to, push things down to the lowest level possible, right? And leaving as much power in the hands of the state, and then in turn, giving power back to the people.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying here too, because this is the representation of the states,
Yeah,
and you're talking about it's the representation at the federal level, and then you just go back to the popular vote,
yeah,
and then the
but
states have to deal with it. But then if it's a popular vote, you're representing the people of the state, not the
people,
state legislature.
right? Uh,
So it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, depending on which way you want to go with that.
yeah.
So
And off the top of my head, I don't know if one's better than the other. Um,
I think that from that perspective,
because the state, at the end of the day, the people are the states. I mean,
to an
but
extent,
yeah,
I mean I see the good in using that, because it is going to give more representation of the people within the state,
yeah,
a better representation of the people within the state. But again,
yeah,
that's
dude.
a tough one. I mean, it really is, because
Yeah,
if you keep it to the popular vote, then it's it's the it's the representation of the state by the people, versus the state legislature trying to further their thing. But all you're doing is you're giving another representation to the people versus the state legislature. But the state legislature has the ability to carve up the representation however they want.
well, let's look at it, or I'm going to look at it from the perspective of what's the worst case scenario, that you end up in a situation where someone, and let's take California for an example, to where it's largely as far as political parties go, it's largely represented by Democrats,
Correct.
for better or for worse, and those policies put in place. And to me, it doesn't feel like living in this state. It feels like only the ideals and the interests of Democrats are being represented and pandered to. Almost like a form of despotism. Now, yes, if I don't like it or I get to a certain point, I can move to a different state.
Yep.
I can go somewhere else.
Yep.
But I don't necessarily know if that's the I don't know if that's the right answer. Maybe it is. I
Well, I mean, you're looking at it. You have 120 seats, and 90 of them are Democrat.
Right.
But I mean, if you look at the state and the way that I don't know.
And so in California, if we take it back, and I believe both senators in California are Democrats anyways. So
Yeah.
you end up in the same place
Yeah.
with the popular vote.
Yep.
I,
So I mean, and from that perspective,
and it's
the Democratic Party has a supermajority in California, period, across the
right.
board. So that is going to be what gets voted for in California. So you take those people that are disenfranchised from the perspective of, well, and this is what you get when you have a two-party system, is you get one or the
Yeah.
other. You don't get a mix.
Yeah.
You don't get somebody. You either pick one or the other. So, and I think I think that's the problem with the two-party system is you don't get
Yes.
those other voices. Those other voices aren't heard from that perspective.
Yeah. And
But
that's what I was gonna ask was like, okay, what problem am I trying to solve for here?
yeah,
Like what am I? And I don't think that gets solved with redistricting or an algorithm, or anything like that. And I think maybe that's a conversation for uh, down the road, as far as like how do we get away from this two-party system? Like what do where like we were talking about ranked choice voting and different
yep.
things like that, and
I mean,
trying to get
that's what it
other
comes
ideas.
down to. It comes
Yeah,
down to giving the people more choices than two.
yeah. And so I think I might be looking at this from the perspective of like I'm trying to solve for a problem where the where redistricting and trying to change something along these lines isn't isn't going to solve the problem. Like we can sit here and play with this all day and figure out different ways to go in and out of it, and it's not gonna and
Correct.
it's not gonna solve the it's not gonna solve the problem of
Choices.
a quarter, yeah, of a quarter of the people in this state that feel like they have no say in anything.
Well, I mean, and you get the same thing in a Republican state. You get the same
Right.
thing in a red
Yeah.
state. Texas has massive Democratic. Like most of the cities in Texas are they're blue, but the red is going to win. North
Yeah.
Carolina is almost like from a population perspective is pretty 50-50. But with all the districting and all the gerrymandering that's done, they got a 60-40, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and my point in all this is that I believe everybody deserves a voice, and and
and that comes down
and
to choice.
everybody, yeah. So yeah, so maybe we don't mess with this,
Plus, I'm
and we leave it up to the states.
well, and
And
my
I guess worst case scenario is like, okay, well, what if a state was 50-50 like North Carolina, and then somebody ended up getting some kind of edge, and then just ends up redistricting
yep,
to try and to try and end up with a super majority in their state. But then you have checks and balances at the federal level and in other places where hopefully you have something where they're going to say no, you can't do that.
And that's the whole thing where why it comes down to choice. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate that the parties have been relegated to not even policy ideals. You have one party that's pro-life, one party that's pro-choice. You have one party that is pro, gay marriage, one party that is not. It's come down to a set of religious ideals rather than policy
Well,
choices.
yeah. What we made everything binary
Correct.
is what we've done, and life is not binary.
There's a lot of gray.
And yeah,
So, but I mean, if that's your choice, if you are anti-abortion, you vote Republican. If you are pro-abortion, you vote Democrat. And the
yeah.
fact that that is those are the those are literally your options when it comes to that is like, well, if you're for abortion, you vote Democrat because that's just what you do. And if you're and everybody that's quote conservative or has a certain set of religious values, not necessarily policy minded or anything like that. It's literally religious values you're voting on. Well, then you vote red, and
Yeah.
it's mind boggling that we've turned it into
Yeah.
you have a religious party versus a for the people party, a
Yeah.
life and liberty party.
Yeah. See, I'm of the opinion that we should be killing as many babies as possible. So like, I and there's just no party out there for me right now. So like, we need to get that started. Just saying.
Them schools are overcrowded as it is, right?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, teachers already got 30 to 40
Way too many
students a
people in the
class. I
grocery
mean,
store right now.
if we start killing off the babies, we can get that number down to like 15.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And everything will be fine. Trust me. Yeah.
The worst, absolute worst. Somebody's going to clip that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. They are at some point.
And that's all it's going to be is we should just start killing all the babies. Yeah, that's now I said it. It's terrible. Oh
That's
jeez.
that's the reel for the week.
Yeah, that is the 2-second clip of this episode is that's horrible. No, but I mean it's you take a look at the fact that you try to make it of the people, and you have one group saying, well, we're the majority, we're the minority now, and we have no representation. And then you look at the other side of it, and the other people are going, but you have all the control.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, you're in charge. Like, why are you getting mad at me?
Yeah, you're in charge. Why is this still a thing? Like you got what you wanted.
Yeah.
Like so and that's really, and then, you keep talking about how, well, we're the minority, but for some reason you have the majority of the representation. So it's really weird. And
But at the end of the day, they don't have the majority. They like and that goes back to the two party system, the binary thing. I think even the people that vote Democrat, right? They don't feel represented because
correct.
yeah, they agree on these two issues, and this is what's most important to me, but their representatives don't care about those two things. They care about the other six things that are in the Democratic ideology.
Yeah. And that's where we get to the options of choice.
Yeah.
And then it goes into people limiting people legislation limiting the ability for the people to choose because they don't want to give the people the ability to choose. They want to tell the citizenry
Yeah.
what they are supposed to choose.
Yeah. They
So
want control.
yeah, so that's where you know, if once that the where is it, you know, that any
Where's
form
what?
of government becomes destructive to the ends of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government. So, and that's one of the things that I mean, that's one of the core reasons why we're doing what we're doing. But
Yeah.
the question is what changes need to be made in order to keep it that way? Like, don't get me wrong, it took 250 years for them to figure out how to game the system. I mean, less than that because they've been doing it
Yeah.
for
It's been going on for a while.
going on for a while.
They're just there's people that are getting a lot better at it.
Yeah, exactly. So the
They've
question is
learned.
how do you prevent it? How do you prevent that from happening again to where you don't, to where you actually have the will of the people, to where you actually have proper representation and you don't have people screwing with that representation.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we get into this, and you go down this rabbit hole of, okay, well, do you force each state to do a certain type of representation so that you get an accurate representation of the people? I don't, I don't know that you do that from the senator's perspective. The fact that they are popular votes means that they are not of the state legislature,
Right.
because the state legislature has the ability to gerrymander or redistrict to get to where they want to. Whereas if you do a popular vote, it's you don't have the ability to district.
Yeah.
The bigger thing is then you have to look at other means, which is either tampering with an election, or they do smear campaigns now, or something that makes it to where it's like, oh,
And
you
use
don't elect
cancel
this.
culture to get rid of somebody.
Yeah. So I think from that perspective, giving people choices rather than two, and make those choices have real effect.
Yeah.
Make rather than, well, if I don't vote for this person, then my vote doesn't count. If we can't, you get the Ross Perot thing. If
Yeah.
if I vote for this person that actually holds these ideals, then I'm going to split this party in two, because not everybody believes in this one person. They have other ideals. This person fits it better. So now you have three, but then everybody, you don't have that fourth person to split the other party. So you're always going to have two parties. And that is something that the only way to change that is by giving the people the choice and the ability to vote for sort of a spectrum. And that's what
Yeah.
your ranked choice is. Now, there's faults with every type of voting, but we have to look at that, and that is when we get down to voting, we're going to have to elect the election process. We're going to have to go into detail on all of the different types, which one is we feel is better, and then, I mean, honestly, at that point, I can see from that perspective pushing that down from the federal.
Yeah.
Pushing the election process or rules of election down. I can see that.
Yeah. And I think there's some rationale and there's some reasonability to that as well.
Yeah, because
So
that's the best way to have a free and fair election.
so going back to the question at hand, I
Senate.
guess so. Yeah, the Senate. Do we switch it? Do we keep it popular? I think I'm still of the opinion that we switch it back to the state legislatures, because I think that is that is a fair representation of the state itself. And
Yeah.
the state legislatures, they have a vested interest in the state, and they're responsible for the interests of the state.
Yep.
And
Supposedly.
and so
Well, I mean, you take
yeah,
lobbying out of it. Like if you
yeah,
get the
yeah,
business out of the Senate to where it's literally, hey, you're going for your state and what you can do for your state, then yeah.
Now, I
Now,
get that just made me think. So do you mandate that that there be some sort of house of commerce at the state level?
no, I don't think so. That's again, you you got to let the states run themselves. You're
Yeah.
talking about federal representation, and you're talking about all of the states as a whole, all of the people as a whole, all of the country as a whole, who the representation is to quote unquote govern everybody or have the full, and that's where you get some people less, central government should be less and they should only have certain capabilities, and then the states should have all the other capabilities. But there's some things that you have to put up at the federal level to protect everyone's
Yeah.
life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The
Yeah.
general
Agreed.
welfare of everyone. You know that
So
that
then at the
is
state, yeah,
yeah.
at the state level, you just you take out lobbying, and then you let them decide how they want to deal with that.
Well, you don't take out lobbying from the state level. What you do is you change the election process. You change how people are elected. You give the ability of the people to make better choices. Give them more. Give them
Make
an
more choice.
ability. No, 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 no. Give them the ability to make a choice that better fits them, rather than one or the other. Because when you get to a one or the other, you're again. It's one of those things of you can move the one or the other anywhere you want on the spectrum, as long as like you could have if the only quote unquote Democrat person in a Democrat state is full on, full left leaning, and they're full quote unquote democratic socialist or whatever, and they have policies that edge on communism or whatever you want to call it, you know, and that's the only person you have to vote for versus the other person that is all the way down the dictatorship side.
Yeah.
You don't have well, where's my person in the middle? Where's my person that has a little bit of dictatorship and a little bit of communism? Where's my
Yeah.
sweet spot? But
Right.
when you have a two-party system, they can put up whoever they want.
Yeah.
So I think that that's where you try to get around that, is giving the ability of the people to choose better, to more options from that perspective, and you don't give power to two different entities within the government.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay,
All right.
I put my soapbox
Let's
away.
try to. Yeah.
Soapboxes away.
Let's try to get through section 3, and then I gotta
All right.
I gotta call it.
Yeah, no, I got you. We got 2 hours under our belt. Um,
Yeah.
Senate time, 6 years right now. Well, let's take a looky loo and see what the other constitutions say here. Start with the conservative, because why not? Section 3, composed of
Well,
one
because
senator
that's
from each state. So the conservative makes it one senator instead of two,
hmm,
and they are 9 years with one term.
interesting.
Okay, so that's the conservative, is one senator instead of two, 9 years, and no reelection. I do like this. No state shall restrict the legislator's choice by law or otherwise. Before taking office, each senator shall pledge an oath or affirmation to promote the common good and long-term welfare of the nation, not the interest of any party or class.
I like that.
I mean, because
That's
we see how well when people take oaths, they live up to those oaths and they listen to
well,
them.
yeah.
They do them.
Like
Yeah.
everyone takes them very seriously and doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't break them ever. I mean, I like the ideal of it, but actually holding, how do you hold somebody accountable to that?
We'll see, and that's the thing is, well, you the only way you have to hold them accountable is impeachment.
Yeah.
And
And then what metrics do you use to
oh,
decide that they?
I'm pretty sure that, oh yeah, they in impeachment. The conservative made it. I believe that they made it. Impeachment is made harder, and conviction is made easier, making it less likely that a partisan House of Rep would put the nation through the gut wrenching, distracting impeachment trial with no realistic prospect of removal. The Constitution also regularizes the procedures for requiring the House to initiate an impeachment inquiry, subpoena power to claim Supreme. So I don't think that they changed. Yeah, I don't think that
Appropriations. That's the thing that has to start in the Senate, I think. The
appropriations.
bill. Yeah.
I no, that starts in the House, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The House
Okay.
has to do it, and then it's so the people, and then the states. That's always the budget always starts in the House.
Right.
Here are numerous changes of made in appropriations. The proposed constitution requires the House to adopt a budget determining the amount of total expenditures in a coming 3-year period. The total bond of treasury, the budget must propose raising revenue or borrowing money. Da 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 da.
Let's go back to
Yeah.
the 9 years, no reelection.
So yeah. So if we do okay, so let's just put this here. So we do the conserve 9-year term, no reelection. One. Per state.
You need to learn how to spell, bro.
I need to learn a lot of things.
Yeah.
Libertarian, progressive. Okay. So what is the Libertarian Constitution? I don't think that they changed it. I could be wrong. Section 3. But also left to each state legislator to choose the method of senatorial selection. Okay, so this is so each state can choose if they want a popular vote or if they want to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair.
But we prefer to let the
Rather
legislators
than
make
rather
that
than
choice.
force.
Yep, because the Senate's meant to represent the interest of the states as collective entities. So to allow the state to make the choice if they want popular or if they want, which I like that.
Yeah.
We maintain popular election for opposition to the Senate is a bit of a totem for a libertarian activist. Practice didn't matter much. Picking senators by popular vote. Yeah, so I don't think that they changed. This is just the changes. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. Section 3. Yep, 2 senators, 6 years. Yeah, they didn't change anything. Like I said, the Libertarian Constitution, they didn't change much.
Change much.
No, yeah.
Like you
2,
said, they were like, and we mean it.
yeah, exactly. So it was 6-year term, unlimited. All right. Now let's see what the progressives did. And I actually like that. I like being able to look at this stuff and see the
Me too.
1 senator from each state. Wow. Plus 1. Okay. Okay. All right. Hold on. They got funky. 1 senator from each state plus 1 additional senator from each state for every 100th of the national population who reside therein. Senators shall be chosen by the people of each state for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. Whoa,
So
yeah. Okay,
wait, one.
I gotta
So
go.
one hundredth. So you take the state population, divide it by 100, and that's how many state senators you end up with.
Yes,
That's a lot of senators.
Here, well, no, it's 126 senators. Okay, so kind of make the U.S. Senate a more representative body. We see great value in the existing federal structure, which heightens the government accountability, facilitates policy, but achieving the benefits of federalism doesn't require the extremes of the current system in which California has 70 times the population of Wyoming but the same number of senators. Constitution therefore would reapportion the Senate, guaranteeing one senator to every state, but allocating additional at-large senators based on the state's share of the national population. Were this system in operation today, there would be 126 senators, of which California would have 13, Texas 9, Florida 7, 22 states, including D.C., would have one senator. I
Yeah, because
mean,
DC doesn't have any senators right now,
correct.
right?
No, they do not have representation in the. I don't think they have representation in the House or the Senate. I don't
I
believe.
thought they had a representative or something.
Do they have a House of Rep? Do they have someone? I mean,
I could,
that's a big representation if they do.
yeah.
No, they don't have representation as a state because they are not a state. I don't.
Do they vote in any House or Senate? Like, do they vote for Virginia or one of the? Because what state are they actually in? I'm trying to think.
Neither. They don't. They exist outside of.
I know, but like I mean geographically,
Geographically, it's in Maryland because they gave Virginia back to Virginia
right?
because
Yeah, and then you
there's
cross the
no
Potomac,
federal.
and then you're in,
Yeah, there's no
and then you're
federal
in Virginia.
buildings. Yeah, there's no federal buildings in Virginia, so because it was a square, and they gave it back to Virginia because there's no federal buildings over there. Essentially,
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you got like Quantico, you got military stuff, but you don't. It's not the White House or the whatever. That's all
Right.
in Maryland. But yeah, there's even talks, I believe, in the Libertarian Constitution. I believe that they give all except for like the federal land, like they give everything else back to Maryland
Mm.
because there's no reason for there to be a non like it doesn't make
No,
sense.
no, I don't think it makes sense either.
But yeah, so District of Columbia at large congressional as a congressional district in Article 1 only states may be represented in yeah, instead constituents of the seat is not permitted to participate in votes. Yeah, does not meet criterion. The member elected from the at-large district is not permitted to participate in votes on the floor of the House.
Gotcha.
They elect someone to sit in the chamber, though they can't do anything.
We're getting off topic again, by the way.
No, we're not. I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh,
No, we're talking about the Senate. So okay,
well,
progressive.
I mean, I just think the District of Columbia is a pretty small piece of that. Is all I was trying to say. But
Per state.
so making the Senate population based representation. I don't. What was their reasoning again for that?
Because you have how many millions of people in California, and to a lesser extent, a lot less people in Montana.
Yeah,
So
but that's what the House of
California,
Representatives.
yeah, California has 70 times the population of Wyoming, but the same number of
Right.
state
But
representatives as Wyoming.
but the Senate is representing the state's interests, not the people's.
Correct.
So
No. Yeah,
eh,
but you have to say, well, I mean, California has what is it? They have the GDP of a country higher than most countries.
yeah, then yeah.
I mean, you could. I forget how many states GDP you could put together to get California's. I think it's almost half.
I'm still failing to see how that changes the representation of the state interest. When the when we're talking about the interest of the people versus the state.
Yeah, it's a question of should they get more representation because they make a bigger impact in the country.
Hmm.
I mean, you had the same problem when the Constitution was created, when you
Yeah.
had large states like Virginia, Carolina, Georgia versus Connecticut.
Yeah.
Should Connecticut have the same representation as Virginia? And that's where you had what was it, the New Jersey, like you were saying before, New Jersey versus
Yeah.
Virginia,
And they came up with Connecticut
and then they
Compromise.
had the Connecticut Compromise. So, you know, I mean, you're talking 4 trillion, and there's only one, two, three, four, five other states that are above a trillion. Like, I mean, you could
Yeah.
you could take a majority of the bottom 25 states and put them together and probably still not get California.
I mean, I get it. I suppose to a certain extent, I understand the argument,
I do too, but is it
but
right?
I still go back to you already have your representation in the House.
The people do, yes.
Um, yeah.
The
And
people, not the
so,
state.
well,
But the
so are you
state
saying
is a
because, well, and I guess what metrics are we using to decide? Because I just thought, well, so because California contributes more,
they should have more
um,
representation.
they should have more representation.
I don't
But
know. That's the question.
I and then the other thing I just thought was if you take that strictly from a business perspective, and we're talking about GDP, like
You
if
should
you
get
try,
more
like
representation.
if you make more money, and
Well,
I
wait a
don't,
second. Hold on. And we were talking about doing the commerce. Who are the people that are going to get elected? The people that the companies with the money are have the ability to elect those people.
sure, but then we can relegate all that to that branch or to that body, that congressional body, that legislative body, and then put checks and balances in place uh, of that. And I feel like what they're doing here is they're taking the Senate and they're turning it into something
Under the
else
House,
where it's like,
it doesn't
yeah,
represent the states equally. The states don't
yeah,
have equal representation within the government.
yeah.
I I agree with you. The question is which is better?
I
Do you
I
stick with the conservative viewpoint to where one senator per state, libertarian 2 senators per state, or progressive 1 senator per state, and then one at large for each 100th of the population that they.
and the other part of me i- is wondering is
Or do you make it three? Do you make it 3 senators per state?
um,
Ooh.
right. Well, when it comes to the progressive one, I'm wondering if part of this is politically driven, where they're looking at it from the perspective of where most people that move to big cities that live in urban areas and that grow the economy like that, where all the money is, that's where the most people go, and a lot of those people end up being on the progressive side of the fence. And so, are they trying
Not
to
not only that, but they are also in many states not represented.
in the cities? Yeah, yeah, and that's the other side of the argument too, right? Where you have these big cities that feel underrepresented because like your situation in North Carolina, where you've got Raleigh and I forget what the
Chapel
other
Hill,
big
Durham,
city.
RTP, and then
Yeah,
Charlotte. Raleigh and Charlotte are the two big ones.
yeah, and the whole rest of their state is red, and
Yep.
I think that, but then
Texas has the same thing.
yeah, but I think that goes back to the discussion that we were having about the lobbying and giving people more choice, or giving people different choices,
Yep.
and they're trying to solve a problem by, I don't I want to use the analogy of putting duct tape on the cracks in the dam, where
Doesn't solve the
you're not going
fundamental
to end.
problem.
Yeah, and you're not going to. That's not the solution to the fundamental problem of what we're talking about, where people are underrepresented or feel misrepresented. It's not that I
Or
don't think that that's
states. I mean, at this
a
point, you're
rational
talking about
solution.
states, like with California saying that, hey, we have the largest GDP. We have, you know, a majority of the people. I mean, 70 million people out of 340. I mean, that's a pretty big percentage of the
Yeah.
population, and we still only get the same representation as Wyoming
In the
or
Senate, yeah.
Connecticut or Massachusetts or whatever little state you want to talk about. Like we're giving all of this money to the government, and we're being shafted in the representation that we have, just because we've done well in our state. So we're being
Are they
penalized.
though? I mean,
Well,
can you?
no. I'm just saying it's not a matter of whether or not they are being penalized. I mean, how's it go? Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, facts aren't feelings.
Yeah.
And feelings aren't facts.
So if you feel like you're being misrepresented, and then if you look at the actual numbers of what you're contributing to the overall picture, and you're not getting representation based on that contribution, is that fact that you're not being represented? Like you're being like everybody has equal representation, but that doesn't mean that they are equally represented. What
Well,
is it?
I mean,
Equitable versus equal.
right.
You know, you take three people, one person's 5 foot, one person's 5'5", one person's 6 foot. You give equal representation. They each get a 2-inch platform to stand on. The tall guy's the only one that can see over the fence.
Sure. Well, you living in Raleigh, I guess I'll put the question to you. Do you feel underrepresented? Do you feel like you don't have a say, you don't have a voice? And
Me personally,
and then yeah, and then based on that answer, like what would you change, or do you think that this would alleviate if you do feel underrepresented? Do you feel like this would alleviate some of that feeling?
well, okay. So you're talking about people's representation, which I would argue that the House is that for me.
Yeah, yeah.
From a state perspective, if we're talking about from if as a state, I feel that we're represented accurately. I mean, if we go back to look at the like represented how, like you're talking from a perspective of, and I we keep going back to California because California is the outlier, you know, and Wyoming's the outlier on the other side, right? Or I
Yeah.
mean, you could even take Vermont. Okay, we'll even take Vermont because Vermont has the lowest GDP of any state, I believe. So per state, U.S. So if we gross domestic, so if we look at this, California with 4.1 trillion, and you take the lowest, which is Vermont with 45 million or 45 billion, it's 45 billion. So in billion, yeah. So 45 billion versus 4.1 trillion, and Vermont has the same representation as California. So North Carolina, we're up here. We're not doing bad, 839 billion, but still California's four of us,
Hmm.
if not maybe a fifth. But from that perspective, do you
Actually,
reward?
it's exactly a fifth.
Yeah, do you reward the states that have a larger GDP? I mean, you're talking about land. Let's go to Alaska, down here, largest state, 69 billion, largest land, and then you have
Hmm.
California and Texas, which are the next two, which have your two highest GDPs.
Yeah. Um, I think we're dancing around this, but I think it really comes down to what we were talking about earlier, and we give people better choices.
And
We
I agree.
adding more representatives, adding more numbers to it. Like you're, I don't know. To me, that you're
From
almost just you're putting gasoline on the fire.
from that perspective, you do that in the House. The
Yeah,
House is your population
yeah,
representation. I mean, if you want to do it, if you want to do it from GDP, put that in the commerce.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Like, okay, split it up between, between from a commerce perspective. Take people out of it. If you want to have a Department of Commerce, the person that's making the most money, you would think, hey, we have the biggest chunk of money that from the from a commerce perspective, there, you think Iowa gives a crap about port fees and
Right.
whatever needs to be done for coastal stuff.
Or exports or tariffs.
Well, I mean, they do care about tariffs because of because of uh,
Sure,
because
but
of farmland and
I
stuff like that.
yeah,
But I'm talking about like port stuff, like actually receiving. Like, you think they care about port worker unions or
right.
anything like that? You know what they probably do care about? Railroads.
Yeah,
Because that
truckers union. Yeah,
because they're like, that's the lifeblood of the inside of the country. But
right.
if you could say that, hey, we can get if we built a high speed train that goes from the middle of the country to the ports, and it's going to take your transportation of your goods from a week down to a day. Is that going to is that going to make a difference?
Yeah.
Would they vote for that? And
Yeah,
that's
and then on the other side of it, California can come back and say, "Hey, we'll get you your high speed rail,"
because it's going to help us move
and then
stuff faster,
yeah, and then on top of that, like, can you vote to lower our port fees or,
or do
what?
something with the
Yeah,
coastal, with us being able to get stuff in. So from an
yeah,
economic perspective, I think it makes sense to, instead of doing one per state, have some sort of based on GDP. I mean, you're talking about commerce, so we're talking about money. We're
yeah,
talking about business, so maybe
yeah.
that,
I
from
think
that
that's a
perspective.
great idea to put that into the House of Commerce is do it based on GDP. Maybe more representation based on GDP. So maybe we don't just make it one representative. Maybe we say for every $100 billion or whatever it is.
Whatever, a minimum of one.
Yeah.
And then we figure out what that
Maybe.
is based on.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then you could have the ability, like population, you really can't control to an extent, right? Like, you
I
can
mean,
try to draw
you
people
can.
in.
Like, we can go back to the killing babies thing. Yeah.
I knew you were going to say
Talk
it.
about that.
I knew you were going to say it. Talk about
Good.
talk about killing them babies, killing them babies. Oh my
Babies.
gosh, it's horrible. We could talk about that stuff, but I mean, it's a lot easier to bring business in. Like, you wouldn't think GDP of North Carolina would be beating out Massachusetts, Virginia, like all of those other. You wouldn't think that North Carolina would be up there, you know. But there's actually a lot of business that comes in. You would think Illinois could be higher, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot to be said from that perspective, to where give them. So you have population representation in the House. You have a state representative representation in the Senate. Everybody's quote unquote equal in state legislation. And then you have a commerce, to where by GDP, to where you have that representation too. So you have money representation, you have people representation, then you have an equal representation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. It's not something to add to the list to circle back on and to flesh out more for
Oh yeah,
sure.
well I mean that's that whole House of Commerce is going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not down for the progressive idea of the Senate.
I don't
That,
like it either.
yeah. Um, the, I like what did they said 8 years and you're out was the
9 years.
libertarian 9 years
No,
and
no,
you're
no, no.
out.
Libertarian kept it the same, 6 years.
Oh no
Wait a
no
second.
conservative
Yeah,
was 8 or 9 years and you're out.
yeah, it was 6 years. Okay, I just want to make sure we've chosen every vacancies. No person shall. I just want to make sure that they didn't limit. I don't see any limits to the terms in this one. So there's no. Okay, so this 6 year term. Okay, so I mean, I'm kind of partial to the conservative. I don't know about one
Yeah.
senator per state. I kind of, to be honest with you, I almost like three, just to screw with people, to have that vote
Yeah.
like that. But then you're looking at it. You know, you're taking 50, which is an even number. When you're adding another, so you're not breaking you're making it 150 people, which is still even.
Yeah.
So
But
well, I mean, you
I
take
don't know.
100,
Would
yeah,
it would it alleviate the idea of adding a 51st state, like the idea that Puerto Rico's never become a state or something? I don't know. So if it was 51, you'd be looking at 153, and then you'd have an uneven number. But
I don't,
I don't know the political ins and outs of all the reasons why Puerto Rico's never become a state. So,
yeah, I think it's
uh,
well, I mean, I have an idea. It's because it's more progressive than, so you'd be adding
yeah.
a quote unquote another blue state.
And I wonder if adding a
More
third senator would
representative would.
change the landscape of that.
I mean, even if you took it down to one, let's see, U.S. Senate.
And then you'd end up with an uneven number. You'd end up with 25
Yeah,
if you took it down to one.
yeah. Well, I mean, 25 to 25. So rather
Or
than,
wait, no, you'd end up with 50, not a
yeah, you'd end up with
not
50, which is
yeah
50 per state, which it would be 25 would be 26 would be
your
your
cutoff.
majority. So we're sitting at 100 right now, and I mean it. I wonder how many. Huh? You have three states that are split, but I still don't understand what's the one and the two and the three. So
Good
confused.
question.
I don't. I don't get that.
I wonder if it's the term
Oh,
in
it's
which
the
they get
class.
elected.
It's the
Yeah,
staggered term. Yeah, that's what it is.
yeah,
That's what
because
it
it's
is.
every 2 years.
Well, 6 years. Every 6 years.
Well, but that a third of the Senate gets elected
Correct.
every 2 years,
Yes. Yes. So
and so that's the term. That's the class or the term when their
yeah,
election comes up.
yeah, one, two, and three. So I mean, you have three states that are split, but outside of that, I mean, one, two, three, four. So you're talking. You have 24. So you're pretty much evenly split.
Yeah. Well, I thought they were sitting at like 53 right
25.
now.
Sorry, I forgot Alaska. So 25, and then you would be looking at Wisconsin, PA, and Maine, because you have 25 red states, quote unquote. You have 25 states that are all red.
Hmm.
So then that means that you have 22 that are all blue, and then you have the three half, which then puts the majority on the.
Well, and I guess what does this really matter at the end of the day when we're talking about blowing the bipartisan system out of the
Well,
water anyway?
that's what I'm wondering. Do you do one representative per state, or do you do two, or do you do three?
Yeah, and then if you put it in the perspective of that, it's almost like, hey, let's do three, and let's and let's give people more choice. Let's get different perspectives in there.
Give the
Like,
states more choice.
yeah, well, give them more choice, and then if you end up with ranked choice voting, you end up with three people that have differing ideas about how things should be done, and with the whatever platform they ran on, right? You get more. You end up with more diversity at the end of the day, especially if you do ranked choice voting and you're not looking at it from the perspective, oh, okay, well now this state's going to have three
But it,
Democratic representatives and zero Republican. Like we're not trying to look at it from that perspective, right?
well,
So,
if that's the case, and you offer them more choices, what's the point of having more people?
well, because you might have let's say you have 10 people running for the Senate and you take the top three in the ranked choice. And I'm oversimplifying, but
Yeah.
whatever. Um, the though each if none of those if we're not talking about a bipartisan system where that person ascribes to the ideals in that binary system,
Then you need more
they
than two.
all yeah, because you'll have and then you might have this overlap, but then you also have these these places where you don't overlap. Like here's five or six things where that this person believes in and that this person is fighting for and wants to change that are completely different from this person, but then they might have three where they overlap, and then and then adding a third person in, um, like that set note, all that set notation stuff that we were doing, where they intersect on some things, and then
Yeah.
they, yeah, and then they don't, but and so you just get a lot, you get in my head, you get better representation, and people might feel like they're better represented in each individual because, oh, hey, this I agree with this person on this topic, but I disagree with this person on that topic, but I agree with them on this one, and so it's like each of them represent the people in each person in different ways. If that am I making sense?
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, I get it. And plus, you even offer the capability. I mean, if you want to, you could even say, how would that work?
I don't know, but it's going to have to come out of your
That
head if
no
we're going to talk
no
about it.
that and I would even put it that you can't have three representatives of the same
Of the same party.
party,
Yeah, I like that.
to where it's a requirement, so where you could even have it to where you could have two Democratic and a
Oh, you could
Republican,
do like a ranked choice where you say so if
first, second, and
the
third.
top choice, yeah, where no, if the top choice is a Republican and the next one's a Republican, that you go down to the third choice.
Well, I
That
think that there's
the next first choice that's not a Republican
so I mean they hold this is the interesting, so they hold elections for the seat. So
every 2 years, but we could
yeah.
change that.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is so you don't have Like, so you're not going to have two seats come up in the same election normally.
Yeah. I'm saying do all three
So
seats at once.
yeah, well, okay, yeah, no, I get that, but I understand why they don't want all three of them at the same once. You kind of want one,
Sure.
but
The disruption.
what I would say
Maybe
from
do
that
maybe do
perspective,
two seats at once and
well,
flip flop them.
no, I would even say from that perspective, if you already have from the state, if you already have representation, a political party has representation in the Senate from your state,
Hmm.
that you're not allowed to have more than two. So you're
Yeah.
required to have a third. You're required to have a different someone from a different party or
It's
someone
from a
from,
different political
but see
affiliation.
that you get all kinds of hairy into that, because what's a political party? You
Right.
know, people are
Yeah.
going to go off and create things, and it's
It's something to think about, though. I think it's worth
well, if you have because if you have three
worth having
people
a follow up.
representing your state, you know, I would say I would, because this could be even good for California. You can only have two of the same party,
Yeah. And then even if you still have a bipartisan system, you still end up with one Republican.
or one whatever, one
Yeah.
green, one. But it gives more capability of other parties,
Yeah.
because you're requiring that it not be of the same political affiliation,
Yeah.
but
And then you end up with a more broad representation
of the state.
of the state.
Yeah, I mean, you could even see, but the thing is and this is where you get into and
Wait for it.
well, no, I'm just saying it could go either way.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I think any political, because you could just create another quote unquote political party to, okay, well, so a Republican esque political party. You could do a libertarian, you could do Tea Party,
Yeah.
you could do whatever,
Yeah,
and
and
then
then you could have a representative that already has name recognition and branding and all that stuff. Oh, hey, I'm this party.
I'm doing this party now, and I'm part of
Yeah,
whatever.
vote for me,
Yeah,
and then you end up with the same thing.
yeah,
But I feel like we could go down this rabbit hole forever.
you
Like,
can.
yeah, um,
I
and
mean,
again,
okay, okay, going back to the conservative, which is going back to the conservative constitution. Before taking office, each senator shall pledge oath or affirmation to promote common good and long-term welfare of the nation, not the interest of any party or class. So from that perspective, and that's only one representative, so why don't we just do this? You can't have representatives from your state be of the same political affiliation, and only do two, and require that you have somebody of a different political affiliation for the second seat, whatever it may
that,
be. Whether it's,
that works too.
I mean, rather than having three and giving two, like giving, no, you just, so you have the ability, the possibility of in a quote unquote a blue state, of getting a green party or getting a more progressive party,
Hmm.
because the people have the ability to vote for that person, versus, well, I have to vote Democrat because the only other option is Republican.
But
But if you already
so
have a Democratic representative, then the people are more likely going to vote for, okay, well, who's the other progressive candidate? So it actually gives more clout to other political parties, because you have the ability to actually elect other political parties, because you get rid of the
yeah,
ability
you
to
get
have
rid of
two.
half of the Democrats or the Republicans in each state.
Yeah, you're
Um,
required to vote something different. So yeah, in your red states, maybe you have a libertarian. Well, boy, the libertarians are going to be so upset about that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Procedurally, I'm kind of trying to think my way through this, and I think I feel like you would then have to hold the elections for both seats at the same time.
I don't know why.
I
Why would you have to? You
I,
just whoever is the
I had
incumbent,
it in my head.
whoever is the
Yeah,
incumbent, that party can't run for the other seat.
yeah, they just can't run at all.
Can't run at
Hmm.
all. If your party, if your if your
I kind of like that a little bit better,
if
than
your
what I was
party
thinking.
is if your party is already there, you can't have a candidate
'Cause
from that
then
party.
you have a Republican running against a Libertarian and Green Party,
Correct.
or vice versa.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. So you have to vote for someone else.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you get rid of the two party system because you have to vote somebody that's not that party. So
Yeah.
what you're going to have is so you're going to have the ability, like in a more conservative state or a red state, whatever you want to call them, the other conservative parties get a chance
Yeah.
because right now it's Republican or nothing, and same way
Yeah.
in the progressive states, it's
Yeah.
Democrat or nothing. So
Yeah.
it'll people have to be more engaged with what they're like they go, oh my gosh, well why is there no Democrat on here?
Right. Oh, yeah. Shit,
Why
I
would
can't just check a box.
I can't just do straight Republican?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm liking that a lot.
And then that's going to give you the diversity of the parties because you can't have. So you're going to, and don't get me wrong, maybe they create two Republican parties. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
But then again, like if they do that, maybe people actually get wise to what what the bipartisan system is doing to us.
well, not only that, you're going to have some separation in those parties
Yeah.
because
Right.
you're
Yeah.
giving the ability.
It's gonna create a separate platform
Yeah.
that's gonna be different than the what the Republican Party is over here.
Yep. I
It's
mean, Republican version 2.0. Everybody make sure they vote for Republican version 2.0. Because I'm
I
pretty
guess that's
sure
a possibility.
isn't there certain requirements in each state to get a
Like
political
so get a what?
to get on the election ballot, to get on the ballot,
Yeah.
there's certain requirements.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of wondering though, like maybe you make it three senators and only one political party can hold one of those seats. So there has to be a third party in the Senate. Think about that. Like then it could because at the end of the day, you could still end up with
A Democrat
a
and
one
Republican.
Republican and one Democrat.
No,
If you
100%.
add a third, then there has to be a third party's representation in the Senate.
Well, again, we're getting to the thing of yes, you could do that, but then you go to the point of, but what if Republican and Democrats just create?
But like you said, that platform would at least be somewhat different than the platform of the original and existing
Would it though?
Republican Party. Or yeah,
That's
and I
the
thought about
that's
that too.
yeah. Would it though? Would it? Could they not
I
just
would hope just I would hope just based off
it's
the idea that there would be different people, so there would be different ideologies.
yeah.
But then again, man, like you start getting that group think, and if you look at the how many people are at the Democratic National Convention or the Republican National Convention, they could just look at three people and say, okay, hey, you three are starting the same party, but I don't know if you do that, like how like, and you start looking at that and how intellectually dishonest that is.
Yeah.
I People are going to have a problem with that.
Are they?
I think. I
Well,
may I would hope
you
I
have
would.
the Republican Party that is red, and then you have the Publican Party that is maroon.
Sure. Yeah. But you know what? There's no R or E in that party.
There's no no re.
Yeah.
I that's But the thing is any type of system you come up with, people are going to game it. That's what we
Yeah.
do as humans. We game the system. We figure out how to get around stuff. And if we can't figure out how to get around it, we just don't listen to the laws. We just break the rules.
I think that's how some of us operate. Yes.
I mean, that's so the
I don't know. And I think that's how people in power operate. I don't know, man.
I mean, you could take it to where are there any laws regarding political parties?
I'm sure there are. It's probably maybe it's state by state.
Qualifying as a political party committee. Whose nominated or selected candidates for federal office appear on the ballot as the party's ballot access is governed by state law, which we know. Yeah, we know that. See, but the state laws is the one. But I think that there is. See, but that's what that's the problem that you're talking about is creating a new political party that is essentially the same as the other one. Like they're going to find a way to get around that.
I just I want to hope that
People aren't that stupid.
yeah, but then again,
We
or
need we
assume
need
people aren't that stupid and that they're not that naive. But then again, if you
well
look at the political discourse online, I mean,
well I mean you're talking okay so all that the all that you need to do is create another party that is anti-abortion, anti-gay marriage, Christian,
mhm,
and that's your other red party. You know, your blue party is the antithesis antithesis of that.
yeah.
I mean, and that's all it is. Like, but but in my personal opinion, we need to get rid of that in general. Like, marriage and medical care should not be dictated at the federal
Yeah.
or
Same.
state level.
Yeah.
Should not be dictated by any governing body
Well, I mean, honestly,
unless it's to guarantee access.
honestly, I feel kind of the same way about abortion.
No,
I don't
that's what I'm saying. That's medical.
I don't think it should be regulated
No,
by the government. I
uh,
think it should be between the doctor and the
correct.
patient.
The only regulation that should be given is allowing people to exercise their ability to pursue life. What is it? How did it go?
Liberty and the pursuit and
Life,
the
liberty, and
pursuit
the
of
pursuit
happiness.
of happiness, right?
Yeah.
And in that pursuit, the government should not get in their way to dictate what they can and cannot do. So if their doctor deems that somebody needs a medical procedure, the government should not be able to dictate whether or not they can have their pancreas removed.
Yeah.
They cannot
And
dictate, you know,
when you put it in terms of abortion, like this is the thing that I always go back to that that a woman ultimately a woman should have the right to choose what she does with it, what she does with her body,
yep.
and I know that creates a
Well,
window
that's,
and it creates an opportunity for for
hmm
bad things to happen. But
oh
you know
yeah,
what? Bad things happen every day. And do you really want to try and regulate this to to take somebody's to take somebody's own bodily autonomy away from them?
well, I mean,
And my answer to that is no.
well, I mean, you could get into the whole thing of, rape and
Yeah,
forced
like
birth and all that. You know,
I don't know. For me, that's like an outlier
Here we go.
part of the argument.
Can I pull a controversial
Yeah,
thing
let's do this.
with medical technology? My opinion, they should disable the ability to reproduce in all male and female babies
Yeah,
until they are deemed capable of, until they have attained a certain age or whatever, or they have shown that they have the ability to care for
be
said child.
responsible for
Yep,
for another human being.
correct.
Yeah,
And then it can be turned on. But we're a ways away from being able to do that from a medically safe perspective, because it can't
sure.
be hormone changing. It can't be, to find a way to flip a DNA on or off. But yeah, no, I think that if there was a way to stop the capability of people reproducing, but then again, you're talking about
Then
you
you're
know
taking
the government, the
somebody else's
freedom,
personal choice and
then you're
rights away from
correct,
them. Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah,
again, I think that from that perspective, for them to be able to go and talk to their healthcare provider to get it turned back on, and if it's again, this goes back to
well, and who gets to
50,
decide that? Is it just
50,
the healthcare?
50 to 100 years from now, when we have the capability to do this, that doesn't interfere with the growth of a person, or the hormones or whatever. At the age of 18, whatever you become a legal adult, you can turn it back on. If you want to, if it's before that, then a medical professional needs to. Look, it's the same with every fucking thing else that, pardon my French, everything else, all other medical procedures now that the parents are quote unquote the guardians of whatever, that they can make the choice for the children and all that. I think it should be one of those things to where it's automatically done to to all newborns. Flip that switch off to where they and then it can be turned on at 18. And there's your
It's already
that,
1 o'clock.
dude. What are you talking about? It's 4 o'clock.
I know.
Anyways, we're
Maybe.
really getting off topic here,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that these views that we hold so dear are just gonna Anyways,
Yeah, they're going to go over really well with everybody.
oh yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
but we definitely
I mean, whether it's killing
we
babies
reach a lot of people.
or taking away the free choice of reproduction. I mean, we are knocking them out of the park today.
Killing it.
Okay, so
You want to pick up on section 3?
2 senators. Well, no. We're still stuck on 1, 2, or 3 senators.
Okay. I I like the idea of 3 senators because it gives people more choice. It allows for more variety, and then only one of any political party in any of those seats. That's me personally. Um, and the idea that people are going to game the system, I guess we could try to regulate that, but I'm kind of the mind where it's like I don't. And anyways, the state legislature is going to be appointing these people anyways, and didn't we decide that?
Yes,
And I would like to believe that if we put ranked choice voting in place and that we were more diligent in the people that we were electing to public service, that
you would
they would
hope.
make decisions, huh?
You would hope.
Yeah, they would make better decisions. And so based on that, if you take away the idea that, oh, hey, I'm like, and somewhere like a super majority like California, you
Yep.
have, where it's
Better
mostly,
representation.
yeah. But then all those Democrats then have to decide, oh crap, I can't decide on or I can't pick another Democrat. So, and then maybe it ends up being, well, maybe I pick the Republican that I get along with the best, or the Libertarian, or whoever
Or
else
the
it is. And
progressive,
I
or
think,
the socialist,
yeah,
whatever. I don't know
uh,
what political parties are in California.
yeah. And then maybe they do create another Democratic Party and they just pick those guys. But like I said, that I think that's going to get like to sit there and do that man, that to me, that's going to get real dishonest real quick,
Oh yeah.
and I think people are going to see right through that,
Well, you
and
would
then there,
hope.
yeah,
Um, do they not? Oh, that's not what we're looking for. So you have. Do you when you register in California? Is it only?
I register as an independent, but and I can't remember if California's a primary state. I don't think I can't vote in Republican or Democratic primaries. I don't
That's
think.
because you picked the independent party.
Right. I understand that.
Political parties in California: Americans elect American Independent, Democratic, Green, Libertarian, Peace and Freedom, and Republican. It's in Santa Cruz. Qualified, particular. The natural law was disqualified. No candidate or statewide office. So, so see, in North Carolina, we have a no affiliation.
Mm.
So what we can do, I'm no affiliation. In a primary, somebody that is not affiliated has the ability to choose which party they want a primary for, and they can only primary for one party.
For one or the other.
So
Yeah.
I can choose libertarian, I can choose Republican, I can choose Democrat, I can choose independent, whatever political party is available, but you can only choose that ballot for the people that are primarying for that party. So, which I prefer
Yeah.
because yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, so I think that's one of the things that. So okay, 3 senators, limit one political party per seat. What's your term? 6 years. Keep the.
Yeah, I think you keep it 6 years. You want some continuity there, and it's the higher body of Congress. I mean, I'm honestly open to ideas on that. I haven't really put too much thought into that
I
one.
mean, you could do 8 year terms, and then every
Yeah.
4 years, you elect a seat
Yeah.
because you have three. So yeah, you just stagger them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. For lack of something better. I'm I I need to think about that, like as far as the generational thing and like, the different competing priorities there where
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can stagger it every 3 election. Well, yeah. That's why they did 6, so you could have split it into
every
3.
two. Yeah.
Yeah, every
Yeah. Yeah, you could
every two
stagger it
years.
4, 8, 12. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. And term limit, I'm a fan of term limits personally
Yeah, I am, but
because
like,
different people
we had that conversation last week about, if well,
from a
I think
state
term limits
legislator.
if they're being elected by the state legislature, I think term limits for sure. Um,
Two
I
terms. So if you do an 8 year term, you could do 2 terms. So there's 16. It's sort of like what we did
Yeah, and then you get staggered continuity through the 4, 8, and 12 years. With between those three representatives, right?
yeah. Well, I
Because
don't
you could have somebody in there for 16 years, but let's say he's in his last 4 years. One new senator comes in, trains him,
yeah.
shows him the ropes, that kind of stuff.
But I do like term limits just for the simple fact of getting new people in there.
Yeah, new ideas, new blood.
Yeah, but I mean, and then there's the argument against that. Well, if they know that they're not going to be there, then they're just going to try to, make as much money as they can and then get out. They don't have a
Yeah,
real dedication to the state or
but
to the
I
place.
I think that's a separate conversation to be had where, where we talk specifically about public virtue and how do we bring that back to, um, to uh, to the political system and to government itself, rather than yeah, I'm gonna get mine.
Citi-
How do you weed that out? I,
you just, I
and
think,
we could be here for another 12 hours talking
oh
about
yeah,
that. So,
oh
and
yeah,
I'm not.
citizenship. Is there a requirement? I mean, you of course they're
Yeah,
U.S. and they're a
yeah,
U.S.
of course.
citizen, but
I,
what
I think we
year?
do the same thing we did for the well. I think we do the same thing we did for the House and for the the House of Representatives and the House of Commerce.
Well, the House of Representatives does it doesn't have a
They're
year.
U.S. citizens.
Yeah, House doesn't have a year because it's for the people.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Commerce has 5 years.
2 years.
Five
Oh,
years.
5 years.
Yeah, they have
Maybe
to
we do
live
the
in the
same.
state for 2 years.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to that part yet.
I, I think we keep that about the. I think well, and maybe make the li- the living within the state, maybe make that a little bit longer, since they are um,
Representing the state,
representing the state. Yeah.
make it 6 years.
Yeah. 6 years is a good number.
Citizen for 4 years, 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like these numbers are arbitrary, to be honest.
Yeah. Uh, I mean,
I mean, the way that I feel
you,
about like when you're talking about representing a business, that's different than representing a state or the people. The business could have, you could do business all over the world. The people live in the state.
yeah,
The state, representing the state is a little bit different. I think the requirements should be a little bit, it should be a
a little
little
bit
bit
more.
more relaxed than a business.
Oh, okay.
Well, the business, to be honest with you, I think it should be a lot more stringent because the business, you could be from anywhere. Like, and maybe we go back to this, but U.S. citizenship for 5 years. Like if you're representing in the House, like you have to have a citizenship requirement. But like you said, if it's 5 to 7 years to get citizenship,
Well, and I wonder with the business if we should make it like, hey, you actually have to be a citizen in that state for 5 years, to vote, you
yeah,
register a car, and
make it five
maybe
years.
put two or three things more in place of being able to prove that,
The
that
business,
you live
yeah,
there.
yeah. And then for the senators, I kind of feel they should, if they're representing the state, they should live in the state for a long
Yeah.
period of time because you're
Yeah.
so 6 years
Yeah.
and U.S. citizen
You
for
should know the ins and outs of,
six. Yeah,
what the struggles of that state are.
yeah. I like 6 years in the state and just make the citizenship the same. Or do you or do you make the citizenship less?
No, I think you should be well, I mean, if you're a citizen of the state, like
So you've lived there for 6 years. You finally got your
the assumption
citizenship.
is that you're a U.S. citizen as well, right?
Well, no, you could live in the state for like if you've lived in the state for 6 years while you're getting your citizenship, and then your citizenship comes through. Do you make them live there for another six?
If you can prove residency in that state, I think 6 years is plenty to be. I
Let's
mean,
do
I think
two. Citizen for 2 years.
so
So
a
total
U.S.
eight
citizen.
years. Yeah, U.S. citizen for a minimum of 2 years. Primary resident in that state for six. I mean, again, this is arbitrary stuff because if somebody's outside of their citizenship and they're trying to get it, 5 to 7 years to get your citizenship status, and then primary residence, by that time, 5 years. If your primary residence is that state for 6 years, then you only got a couple
Yeah,
more years to
the possibility that they could be bouncing around between states, while
exactly.
they're getting their citizenship.
Yeah, but I think more so being a part of that state matters more so than citizenship to me.
Yes, agreed.
because representing the state is what
Yeah,
this
I
is.
would almost care less about you being a U.S. citizen than the citizen, or
Being
almost not at
living
all.
in the state. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that is minimum age. We make this one higher. Again,
what you
this is
think?
what 20
30, 35?
well 30 so it used to be or it's 30 years. So it's 30 years in the original. 9 years as citizen. And then I find it funny that being a citizen was a bigger thing when this was created than them living where they represent.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's funny.
I don't. I think it makes sense in my head because people were less mobile back then.
Yeah. So you're
You
representing
couldn't just
wherever you're living.
yeah, you couldn't just pick up and leave and
Yeah.
in 1789 and just go start somewhere new. That was like that I'm sure that was a ridiculous proposition for 95 to 99% of the population.
Yeah. So 25. I mean,
Yeah.
the age again. This is you're talking about arbitrary numbers. Like to be
I think
elected.
25 is good. I like, you've got some life experience under your belt.
Yeah.
And again, you like you said, it's arbitrary too, because like if a 25 gets goes out and campaigns, you're gonna be able to tell real quick like whether he or she is mature enough to hold that office. At least in my head.
Okay. So the youngest members of Congress. So the U.S. senators. duh, 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 duh. The youngest, let's see, 30. I think that they had, 28 years. They had some 28-year-olds that were signed in or sworn in. Um, yeah, the current youngest is 33.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think 25 is good.
the representatives, you got 21, 22-year-olds. So, I mean, it's you got 25-year-olds that are already in there. But I mean, that's, you know, yeah, so because it's 25 for the House, 30 for the Senate. And I mean, when you're looking back at that, a lot of times the reason, they want them to have a little bit of experience if you're going to college, to be a representative. But if you're representing the people, the people elect you. If you're
Yeah.
18, man, more power to you. Maybe you'll get some kids involved. All right. I mean, I think that covers a lot of the Senate stuff. And then you have stuff in here about impeachments, officers, vice president shall have no vote unless they're divided. I mean, a lot of this stuff is going to be. Yeah, we can review that stuff. But
Yeah.
I think we call it now a little over 3 hours,
Yep.
and
Three and a
then
quarter.
next we can touch on these things. Like I don't have any problem with this other stuff. The vice president shall be the president of the Senate, have no vote. I don't have a problem with that. Choose their other officers, also the president pro tempore in the absence of the vice president. I think that's fine. Sole power to try all impeachments. I think like what the conservatives and I think the libertarians did it as well for impeachment.
I think you need to lower the bar.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so the libertarian left it as 2/3. They didn't change much in the Constitution. The
Yeah.
conservatives made it 3/5.
Yeah.
but they made it harder. I think they made it 2/3 in the House to hard because there's only been four. There's been a total of four impeachments. It's been Johnson, Clinton, and Trump twice,
Hmm.
and there's been no convictions.
Right.
So I think you make it harder to impeach. I like the conservatives' ideal on this. Harder to impeach, easier to convict. Like if you're going through the process of somebody being impeached and saying that there is irrefutable evidence that this person did something wrong, it shouldn't be so hard. Like it shouldn't be party defined as far as whether or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, the House's of Representatives portion of it is like the grand jury portion, and if
Yeah,
there's enough evidence to
the Senate's
proceed,
the
yeah,
judge. Yeah, and the
yeah,
Senate's the judge and hands down the conviction of what should happen.
yeah,
So it would be like, somebody being convicted, you go into the jury and, you get a jury that says, yes, they're guilty of doing these things. And then the judge says, okay, cool. Have a nice day.
yeah,
It's like, but we convicted him of, yeah, but no biggie.
yeah. Right.
Cool beans.
I think impeachment is I think
It
that's
doesn't
something
mean
that we
anything
need to.
anymore. It doesn't mean
Well, it
anything
doesn't,
anymore.
but it should,
It should.
and,
Yeah,
and it
100%.
and it should be, and I think it's something that we need to discuss more at length, or how to make that process more
Hmm.
realistic,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. But
That's
yeah,
for another day.
yeah, agreed.
But yeah, we'll cover the other parts of that in our next episode. But yeah, continuing on. So much for getting through 7 sections in one episode. We didn't even get
Yeah,
through them in two,
we were
which
so
is
close.
expected, to be honest. I mean, Section 4 is elections. I mean, this is
So we probably won't be spending much time on that one.
no, not at all. We haven't talked
Yeah,
about election at all or changing anything. I think what they got's you know perfectly fine. So, but anyways, thanks for everybody for joining
yeah,
us. Josh, as
yeah,
always, appreciate it.
yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope we all learned something. Yeah,
Go over to our subreddit and have a conversation with us. Talk about it. Give us your ideas, your thoughts. Um, you know, let's all work this together. So you can tell us about how terrible we are, how much we don't know,
yeah,
and how much more you know than we do. But
yeah. Love those conversations for
those are the
sure.
best.
Yeah,
But again, thanks everybody. I
yeah,
hope you'll join us next week. Same time, same channel,
yeah,
1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. I think it's the 19th of October. We'll be here to
yeah,
talk more about Article 1.
yeah. Thanks everybody, and be kind to each other.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.